Thank you. The board will now come to order. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley.
Present.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Hubbard.
Present.
Alderwoman Negracia.
Present.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
Present.
Alderman Gunther.
Here.
Alderman Vollmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Martin.
Present.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Here.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye. Present.
Alderwoman Green. Alderman Oldenburg.
Present.
Alderman Rhodey.
Present.
Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer. Present. Alderman Muhammad.
Here.
Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Here.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Present.
President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Green. Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Spencer. And Alderman Cone. 20 present, you have quorum.
Quorum being present, we begin today's meeting with prayer. Giving all honor to God, Almighty God, source of all authority, we humbly ask guidance in our deliberations and wisdom in our conclusions. Amen. Under special order of the day is the approval of the credentials for the newly elected alderwomen. Is there anyone from the Rules and Credentials Committee who would like to make the motion for the report of the Credentials Committee?
I make a motion.
Been moved by-
Credentials Committee.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 14th, entertain a second.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from 22nd, that we accept the credentials of the newly elected alderpersons from the 4th and the 12th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Present.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
We would have to hire first commissioner. Commissioner?
Alderwoman Engrossment.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther. Alderman Vollmer. Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Bragg.
Yeah.
Alderwoman Murphy. Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
This is the second roll call.
Present.
Yeah. So everybody that's aye, this is the second roll call for the newly elected aldermen. So we do for a lot of the new aldermen. You probably haven't experienced this before. So what we do is we start the meeting with a roll call without their names in it. Then we vote to accept their credentials. And then we do another roll call with their name in it. So this is a second roll call. Madam Clerk, have you kept track, or would you want to just start the roll call all over again?
Over again.
Yeah, let's just start that roll call all over again. And the other tradition is when they announce the newly elected alderman, we clap for them. So, all right.
It loses something in the video.
I know it loses a lot in the video. It's kind of an odd situation.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Here.
Aye.
No, present.
Here.
Here, present. What are we? Present.
The delay in this video makes it kind of weird, but let's try that one more time, Madam Clerk.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman
Present.
There we go. There we go.
Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Negracia. Alderman Carter.
Yeah.
Alderwoman Rice.
Present.
Alderman Gunther.
Here.
Alderman Balmer.
Present.
Alderwoman Martin.
Present.
Alderwoman Grass.
Here. Thank you.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Here.
Alderwoman Howard.
Here.
Alderwoman Green.
Present.
Alderman Odenberg.
Present.
Alderman Rhodey.
Me before.
Present.
Alderman Todd. Alderwoman Davis. Alderwoman Spencer.
Present.
Let the kids say them.
Alderman Muhammad.
Aye. Present. What are we doing?
Present. That was it.
Alderman Boyd.
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Present.
Alderman Narayan.
Present, and let me unmute my microphone when I want, please.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Here.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Present.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Present. I also lost the ability to unmute myself.
President Reed.
Here.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Ingracia.
We need to have the ability to unmute ourselves. You can
Yeah,
shut me up afterward.
can't-
You can shut me
I
up if
can't.
I've gone on too long, but present, because you all keep missing my votes and check-ins. So please fix that. Thank you.
I'm having the same problem.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Mine goes in and out too.
Present.
Alderman Coder. Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis.
Present.
Alderman Cone. 25 present.
Thank you, and welcome to the newly elected aldermen. So now we do introduction of honored guests, and this gives you an opportunity to introduce any of your honored guests, anybody that's attending today's meeting, or anyone that you want to say a special thank you to who may watch the video later, because it's also on YouTube, so you can send them the YouTube link at a later date. So with that, Alderwoman from the 4th, you're recognized.
Good afternoon, everyone. Glad to be a part of this committee, this organization, this board. I'm just excited. It's been a long time coming, and glad to be able to join you guys again, even though, you know, during this COVID thing, I'm not used to this. I'm used to seeing you guys in person. But yeah, I thank all of you, all the people involved that have given me information that have helped me along this journey, because this is entirely new to me. And, you know, I just leaned on Alderman Moore quite a bit. And I miss him because he was a plethora of knowledge. And I first of all want to thank him for wanting me to become the next alderman of the 4th Ward, because at first I didn't know if I really wanted to do that. And I'm going to share this with you. And I chose not. I said, well, I'll do this on one condition, and that is that God was on my side. If this was what God wanted me to do, I would do it. I told him, and this is me talking to my God, you will see me or hear me often say I talk with him, because I do. Daily I talk to him. I said, if this is what you want me to do, I'll do it, but I can't do it without you. I won't do it without you. So I'm letting you guys know up front, I got a special person that's with me at all times, and I call on him daily. And he shows up and shows out. So first and foremost, that's who I want to thank. I want to thank my God. I thank Alderman Moore, because it's through my God that I plan to continue Alderman Moore's vision that he has for the 4th Ward. There are other people, and if I forget to mention somebody, because it was quite a few people that have helped me along this journey, and I say this is a journey. I want to give special thanks to Lucinda Bosley, committee woman, because I was a committee woman first before I chose to embark upon the aldermanship. So she helped me quite a bit. So I call her my mentor, and I'm her mentee. And I hope that I can find quite a few mentors from the Board of Aldermen as well. I don't want to take up a lot of time because I know we have business at stake, but I just want to embrace and thank everyone who called to congratulate me. And I just hope that we can do things decent and in order to get things done for the community. I don't talk a lot, but when I do have something to say, I'll interject. And I guess that's all I want to say, I guess. Well, the people that helped me with my campaign, I definitely want to thank them. They know who they are. And am I supposed to name names?
If you want to, go ahead. Yeah. If you would like to and you have the list, go do it.
I want to thank Chairperson because he hooked me up, or should I say he introduced me to a bookkeeper, and her name is Ashley Clement. And I told her, look, that's your lane. I just want you to keep me straight, legal, and turn all my stuff in on time. And so far, she has been doing that. So I want to thank her for that. And I thank Chairperson for introducing her to me. There's some, well, Alderman Moore's nephew, Daryl Jackson Moore. I want to thank him. Andre McKinney, because we were the ones that helped Alderman Moore get elected. So I want to thank all of those people that were involved with that. And with that, I can't think of anyone else, but I know it'll probably come to me later. So just owe it to my mind and not my heart. And I thank everybody that was instrumental in me getting to where I am today.
Alderwoman Evans, congratulations and welcome to the board.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Alderwoman from the 12th.
Hi, everybody. I'm happy to be here. I want to thank my kids and their significant others, Jake and Lauren and Nick and Christina. They were there with me shoulder to shoulder for quite a while. I appreciate all their hard work. I want to thank the voters of the 12th Ward. Without them, I would not have been able to do this today. On both sides, we came out fairly decent for a special election to vote. I want to thank my committee man and my committee woman, Greg Daly and Chrissy Sullivan. They did a great job and they were a wealth of information for me. My intent here is to do a good job for my neighborhood and to do the bigger job of the city of St. Louis. And like Dwayne said, I want to do it with common sense and decency and just use the best of what we all have to get that job done. So, and I want to thank Dwayne for hanging with me for the last 2 weeks. Took a while, but here we are. So thank you. I'm ready to work. Let's go.
All right, well, welcome, Alderwoman from the 12th.
Thank you.
Alderman from the 23rd. Introduction of honored guests.
It is really hard to unmute yourself when they keep you muted. Yes, as always, I would like to have Greg Meyer as my honored guest.
All right, welcome. Alderwoman from the 27th.
Yes, Mr. President. I wanted to welcome Dave Sweeney. I see he is as a guest, and we miss seeing all your colorful outfits, Dave. Thank you.
Hey, any further introductions? Alderman from the 10th, like to wrap us up?
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, we're gathered here on July 8th in the afternoon. On this day in 1889, the first Wall Street Journal was published. It's also on this day in 1963 that Stevie Wonder appeared on American Bandstand. But most importantly, this is a national day, has days to it. It's National Body Paint Day, and it's also National Freezer Pop Day. And I hope the Alderman from the 23rd chooses the latter, not the former. Thank you.
Excellent. Approval of the minutes.
Approval of the minutes, July 2nd, 2020.
Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on approval of the minutes.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
I move for approval of the minutes, July the 2nd.
Moved by
Second.
Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th, and
I can't hear.
I think also the Alderman from the 6th.
I can't hear, so I'm going to log off and log back in because I can't hear anything.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I,
Mr. President, I clearly objected there.
Oh.
Oppose?
No.
No,
Motion carries. Report of city officials.
Report of city officials can be found in A, B, and C of the agenda and has been placed in the Alderman's mailboxes.
Dispense with line item 7. Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? Would anyone like to take any bills off of any of our informal calendars? We will dispense with line items 8 through 10, first reading of board bill.
Board Bill 94, sponsored by Alderman Todd, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor and comptroller of the city of St. Louis to execute upon receipt of and in consideration of the sum of $250 and other good and valuable consideration, a quitclaim deed to remise, release, and forever quitclaim unto the Veterans Community Project, a certain city-owned property located in City Block 1868, which property is known and numbered as 3724 Aldine in the city of St. Louis, Missouri. That is the extent of first reading of board bills.
Reference to committee.
To the Ways and Means Committee, Board Bill 94. That is the extent of reference to committee.
Second reading.
The following board bills were reported out of the Streets Committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 88, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey and Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance establishing a three-way stop site at the intersection of Folsom Avenue and Clem Street, regulating all traffic traveling eastbound and westbound on Folsom Avenue at Clem Street, and regulating all traffic traveling northbound on Clem Street at Folsom Avenue, and containing an emergency clause. Board Bill 89, as amended, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey and Alderwoman Davis, an ordinance establishing a stop site at the intersection of McCree Avenue and Clem Street, regulating all traffic traveling northbound and southbound on Clem Street at McCree Avenue, and containing an emergency clause. The following board bills were reported out of Public Safety with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 87, sponsored by Alderman Muhammad, an ordinance closing the St. Louis City's O'Fallon Park to the public and prohibiting all uses of O'Fallon Park by the public for the period beginning with the effective date of this ordinance and ending January the 1st, 2021. Board Bill 92, as amended, sponsored by President Reed, Alderman Muhammad, Alderwoman Middlebrook, Alderman Coder, Alderwoman Murphy, Alderwoman Howard, and Alderman Oldenburg. An ordinance in accordance with Article 25, Section 1 of the St. Louis City Charter, recommended by the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, amending the duties of the Division of Corrections and Department of Health and Hospitals, directing the Commissioner of Corrections to begin the process of closing the St. Louis City Medium Security Institution, MSI, also known as the Workhouse, directing the Budget Director to analyze the net cost savings to the general fund if MSI is no longer operated as a detainee facility, and containing an emergency clause. The following board bill was reported out of the HUS Committee with a due pass recommendation. Board Bill 84, sponsored by Alderman Rhodey, an ordinance renewing the previous determinations made by ordinance number 66847 and ordinance number 66985, and as renewed by ordinance 68754 and ordinance number 70119 for the redevelopment area, finding that the redevelopment of such area is necessary and in the public interest under Chapter 353 of the revised statutes of Missouri as amended and under Chapter 1106 of the revised code of the city of St. Louis, Missouri, and is in the interest of the peace, public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the people of the city of St. Louis, and renewing the certificate of public convenience and necessity granted by the city of St. Louis to Cortex West Redevelopment Corporation to exercise the power of eminent domain within the redevelopment area. That is the extent of second reading.
Mr. President,
Yes.
could I have my name added to the closing of the MSI? Yeah.
Yes, but we'll also have time between now and the perfection calendar, but yes, absolutely.
Mr. President, could I please do the same? I had my hand up in order to do the same.
Oh, okay, sorry. Sorry. So I had the Alderman from the 24th, the Alderman from the 28th.
Sorry, Mr. President, I was getting ready in line for the next part of the agenda.
Okay, all right. Alderman from the 27th.
Yes, and my name too, sir.
All right, Madam Clerk, please make note of that. And anyone else, you can email and reach out to the clerk because it'll be on Friday's meeting for perfection also. So we have some time to add names, but I certainly really appreciate all the support on the bill. I think it's a good bill for the city of St. Louis, and the time is right to get it done now. We'll dispense with line items 14, 15, and 16. Alderman from the 23rd, you're recognized.
Yes, Mr. President and members. I've been trying to get my board bill 29, which 20 of us voted for, out of the Rules Committee. It's been engrossed, but they don't want to enroll it. I feel I'm being treated unfairly. I believe that it's going against 20 aldermen that voted. So I would like to make a motion that we place the board bill 29 before us so that we could finally pass that today. There's a timeline on this thing. We're going to be going out of session, and I'm trying to get this on the November ballot. And if it's the will of everybody here, then I would really appreciate a yes vote so I can get this out of committee so that we can vote on it today.
All right.
So that's my motion that
Right.
we would.
All right.
Second.
Alderman, and it's on the agenda, so we will take action on it on the third reading calendar and also under the enrollment calendar. But to your point, the charter, explicitly outlines a timeline for these things, and we've fallen outside of that timeline on a whole host of bills, including your bill. The good thing is that your bill is on that third reading calendar today, third reading report of engrossments. So when we get to the third reading report of engrossments, if you make your motion to third reading, fine, pass your bill, we will third read it.
Point of order.
And Alderwoman, I'll recognize you when I finish. And we will take it up when we get to the third reading calendar. And it's also on the enrollment calendar. So that's kind of where it currently stands. Alderwoman from the 15th, please state your point of order.
I wanted to just clarify, a bill has to be in committee for 30 days before it can be discharged by the full Board of Aldermen. And Chairwoman Tyus has made it clear that she is willing to to discharge that bill before the end of the 30 days. We just have not gotten to it quite yet.
Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. Everybody, the rules and engrossments isn't the same as a normal committee, right? The board has already taken action on it. We have a chartered responsibility to move those bills. In the charter, it explicitly states that the Rules and Engrossments Committee, actually it says a committee. It does not say Rules and Engrossments. It says a committee. The bills, after being perfected, will be sent to a committee. That committee has 3 days or up to the next scheduled Board of Aldermen meeting to act on it, to fully engross and send it out. That's the charter. That's what the charter states. Now,
The charter says engross, not enroll.
and enrolled is
There
enrolled.
are two different mechanisms.
Again, Alderwoman, I will give you an opportunity to talk again. So that you have those 3 days. Nowhere does it say that you have up to 30 days to do anything. And the enrollment process, if you read it carefully, the enrollment process is the full board. We enroll the bills when we third read and finally pass them, right? And then when I sign the bill is then considered fully enrolled, right? But the committee cannot choose to delay or defer the actions of this entire board. Because if a single committee or a single chairperson had that power, the rest of us might as well go home. Nobody has that power.
And point of order.
Please state your point of order.
Committee chairs hold up bills for 30 days or more all the time. This is very common practice. It has happened to me over and over and over again at this body. And so it is complete gaslighting to pretend that this does not exist at this body.
Alderwoman, with all due respect, the Rules and Engrossments Committee isn't the same as a regular committee. You don't, again, Alderwoman, hold on. Alderwoman, give me an opportunity. Give me an opportunity to finish and I'll give you an opportunity to finish, right? I didn't overtalk you, don't do it to me. So the Rules and Engrossments Committee isn't like a typical committee at all whatsoever. A chairman can choose to bring something up for vote or not. When the Rules and Engrossments Committee decides to defer action on bills that the board has duly taken up, it is beyond its authority at that point. The Rules and Engrossments Committee does not have the power to do that. You don't have the power to sit on bills indefinitely. No one has that power. And over all my time at the Board of Aldermen, I've never seen it. It just, the charter is one thing to be in violation of our rules. It's a wholly other thing to be in violation of our charter, right? And a lot of these bills that are just getting out of committee are in violation of the charter itself, right? So when this board takes up action and takes up action on the bills, the only thing that Rules and Engrossment is supposed to do, you don't supposed to look at subject matter. It doesn't matter whether you like a bill or not. And if the opinions have to be on whether you like the bill or not, then you're not anybody that wants to take that position, they're not a good fit for Rules and Engrossments, because Rules and Engrossments is a ministerial role where you look at all of the changes that have taken place before the Board of Aldermen during the lifespan of that bill and assure that those changes are truly engrossed and in that final copy. That's your only job. But if you get to discussion the content and want to vote it up or down about, on what, because of whether you like a person or not, or like the subject or not, that is not what that committee does. You have to be on a different type of committee, the committee that the bills actually came through, to express that opinion. That committee in Rules and Engrossments, that's not where you express that opinion. And if you express that opinion,
may I please offer
Alderwoman, give me a chance to finish. When you begin to make decisions and express it based on your opinion of the subject matter of the bill or of the person who's carrying the bill, you are wholly and completely outside of your authority. So, this board has a lot of work before it, and it's important that we continue to move these things and stay in alignment with the charter of the city of St. Louis, all the way from the 15th.
So I'd like to refute a number of things that you said today, and also ask for you to please point out where in the charter it says that rules and engrossments has different rules than any other committee of the Board of Aldermen. For one,
It's based on the fact of what.
Chairman, you asked me not to interrupt you, and I am now asking you to afford me the same courtesy. Second thing I would like to say is nobody is making a determination, yes or no, on a board bill based upon subject matter. The committee has just opted not to move the bill forward at this moment in time, with also a very clear understanding that there is a commitment from the committee, which we stated to both the Alderwoman from the 14th and the Alderman from the 23rd, that it will be moved ahead within 30 days. In fact, we will be taking it back up on Friday when we meet again. We were not able to get through every board bill that we have today. We met from 10 a.m. until 12:58, right up until this meeting, to try to enroll and engross as many board bills as we could. With all the special meetings that we've had called, that also means that there's been a faster movement of bills into our committee, which has meant more bills than normal. And so I would again say, please, if you would please provide to the Board of Aldermen where in the rules, where in the charter, it says that this committee is treated differently than other committees, and that you do indeed have the ability to pull a bill out within that 30 days.
Alderwoman, I already stated that it's in the charter. If you would like to read the charter, you can find it in the charter. Just simply search for engrossments, and you will see the passage there in engrossments and what engrossments is supposed to do. So the charter explicitly only gives 3 days and the maximum timeline up until the next regularly scheduled meeting. Some of the bills, some of the Alderwoman.
To engross, not
Alderwoman. So if you're outside of that 1 week time period, you're outside of the time period, right? And that is explicitly outlined in the charter, and it's doubled down also in our rules. But it should not be a complex thing to see that as the chairman or as a participant on rules and engrossments is absolutely completely different than a regular committee. Rules and engrossments, you're not discussing subject matter. You're not having testimony on bills. You're not there to relitigate a bill. Your only powers and what you're supposed to do per our rules and everything is to assure that all the things that have changed during the lifespan of that bill is truly in its final form. And that's your only powers. That's what you do. And that should not be that difficult to grasp that concept. That's just what it is.
And Mr. President, I will be clear again that we are not weighing in on the subject matter. And as you just stated, our goal is to give it an up or down out of the committee. And what we have decided not to do, or we've decided to do at this point in time, is take no action. So it is still there. It has not been voted out. It hasn't been voted.
For what reason? For what reason?
Because we have a lot of bills in front of us right now, and it's a complex issue.
Okay. All right. But that's not the only one. You had 30 bills up today. Some of those bills were passed June 16th, right? Some of those bills were passed a long time ago, right? And then, there was other discussions about saying, well, there wasn't enough public testimony to move forward. That is totally beyond your purview. You cannot relitigate a bill that has already been litigated, that's already been before the board, and the board has taken action on it. You absolutely absolutely categorically do not have that power, right?
The jurisdiction of the rule.
I'm Alderwoman, I'm about to move on because I'm, we're going back and forth, but please just, study up on engrossments in any legislative body to understand what engrossments, what the powers of an engrossments committee is. You do not
And
have
our committee is also.
Alderwoman, you do not have the same power as a regular committee does to vote up or down bills. That is not your power. You cannot amend, just like you cannot amend bills and say, okay, you know what? I didn't like that. I'm gonna change that in the bill. You don't have that. You don't have that power.
And nobody has.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Alderman.
Nobody has been amending bills. Nobody has been asking to do that. What we have simply been doing is trying to get caught up on all of these bills that are in front of us in this committee. We, as I said, we met from 10 a.m. until 11:58 today to get them through. We had to cancel previous Rules Committee meetings because we had special meetings called by you, Mr. President, that ended up overlapping at the time that we regularly had scheduled to meet right after that meeting. And so I think that there's a lot of misinformation that's being given here today about the work that is happening in the Rules Committee. We have been forwarding through, a lot of bills, and we're continuing to do that work. But one more thing, the other role of the Rules Committee, written in the definition of our committee and the rules, is the enforcement of the rules, the oversight and enforcement of the rules. So if our rules on public testimony are not covered, or not appropriately administered in a committee, and it is brought to our attention, it's also the purview of our committee to be discussing or calling into question if we are not following our rules.
Alderwoman, again, you just made my point for me when I said amend. You can't amend bills, and you came back and said, well, we're not amending bills, right? Again, when you asked me and said, you show me where the rules are different from engrossment committee in a regular committee, you just outlined some of them right there yourself. I'm moving on. This isn't gonna go a long way, but just jump on Google and type engrossment of bills, and any definition on the planet will tell you what I'm saying today. You do not have the powers to relitigate bills under no circumstances. You do not have powers to just hold bills. The charter and the framers of the charter were clear about that. That's why they put timelines in place. No one has that power to hold that kind of control over an entire branch of government. Nobody does. I don't, you don't, the mayor doesn't.
Done by other committees.
Look, what you all are dealing with are final products, things that have already gone through discussions, that they've laid over in the committee. The committee chairman have taken actions. They've had public hearings, all of these things. Your only job isn't to say whether you like the subject matter or not, or none of those things. Your only job is to assure that all of those amendments that happen, if at all, are in the bill and they're in their final form. If you talk to some of the former chairmen of rules and engrossments, they'll tell you themselves about the process for engrossing and getting through this process. This board and this entire branch of government cannot be held hostage by that one committee because of whatever issues that are going on.
With all due respect,
go ahead.
We are held hostage here all the time by committees.
Okay.
Those
all
of
right.
us who have dissenting viewpoints are held hostage by committees at this board all the time by not having our board bills heard or not taking votes on them after multiple hearings. So to say that we are holding something hostage in a way that another committee doesn't is just not accurate.
Well, it should be. And I say, you just again made my point. It absolutely should be, because what you said is, you said that's not accurate, right? So you're essentially saying we're holding these things hostage. We're doing the same thing as other committees, so we should be okay. And that's not true.
That is absolutely not what I'm.
Engrossments.
We have the same other committees. You need to tell your stop muting this board.
Alderwoman. Don't talk over me. I'm not talking over you. So
you don't get your mic mute the way that the rest of us do.
Alderwoman.
I was muted so many times today.
Yeah, by the chairman and in your committee, Alderwoman. So again,
muted for talking over.
Oh, but let's move on. This isn't going anywhere. Please look up the information on the rules and engrossment so you understand what engrossements are. You do not have the power to hold up bills indefinitely. The charter clearly states that. And this board being outside of the purview of the charter has no choice but the right to shift so that we are on sound legal footing moving forward. Who else we had? Alderman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to catch the assistant clerk before the reading of the third reading consent bills. Is now a good time for me to request for one to be taken off consent?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I request that Board Bill 48 be taken off the third reading consent calendar.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Place Board Bill 48 on the regular third reading calendar.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 23rd.
I just, and I know I don't want to go back in that same argument, but not only once, but twice, I was completely muted. Myself and Carol Howard both made a motion.
I mean, but you were completely muted when?
Oh, during the Rules Committee. The same thing she's accusing you of, except Sharon said, I'm not listening. And there was a motion made. So when they said there's a lot of bills and they don't have time to take it up, that's untrue. Carol tried it in the meeting last week. I tried it this week. I was told that they're not gonna, they'll let it out on the 30th day. The problem with that, if we don't have meetings, and if this isn't put out on a ballot, then it cannot make the November election. And that seems to be the election everybody wants things on. She's saying, well, you holding extra meetings are illegal, but you hold an illegal next meeting. Well, she can't be on both sides. Under our rules, 65 gives them to the next meeting to get bill engrossed. And she's saying, oh yeah, well, technically we're engrossing it, but then we don't have to send it out, which is a bunch of BS. That rule's there to make sure that things are done in a speedy manner. And whatever game they're playing about this, well, we're engrossing it, but we're not going to enroll it. And then because she doesn't care for me or does or doesn't or whatever, she holds things. And I completely disagree with it. Otherwise, I should take that high enough and smart to get it, and I'll just hold up the whole Board of Aldermen forever. It's our rules, and I'm following our rules to try to get it out of her committee. And I'm just going to wait till I have time that I can actually get it out. But thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to clarify if, first of all, if you had ruled on the point of order, and then if there was an official opinion as to whether this meeting itself was following the rules of the board because there was not a special motion.
I can tell you that this meeting, and I should have, and let me apologize to everybody for not taking this up at at the last meeting. But the reason I decided not to take it up at the last meeting is because we were during the announcements period, which are, truly for announcements. That's not where you have back and forth discussion, right? So we were out of order by having those discussions during the announcement period to begin with, right? And the second part is that the answer to the Alderwoman from the 6th question when she read the rules was just so straightforward. I didn't want to create an embarrassing situation for her, right, at the time. And here's why. Because if you remember when the question came up, I said we have been following the rules and we will make a vote on this thing, right? Because what that rule refers to is when we schedule another meeting, right? Because we're in session now, so we're not calling special meetings outside of session or anything like that. When it's on the agenda and when the floor leader says we're adjourning till July 10th or whatever, right? Everybody votes on it, right? And when you vote on it, you're casting your vote as a body to honor that meeting date. And so we were, 5 minutes from that spot in the agenda. So it was a bit, for me at the time, I said, well, I'm not going to bring that up. I'll talk to her later about it. But now, since then, we now have a letter and people asking, is the meeting legal or not? Absolutely, the meeting's legal, right? So not only, and moreover, you have this, that not only have you voted for the meeting when that motion is made to adjourn to whatever meeting date is, you voted on the meeting, right? But then when we come back and do the minutes and you vote on the minutes, just like we did today, right? So when you voted on the amendments today, when you voted on the minutes today, you voted on the amendment on the minutes that says that, yes, I voted for the meeting date today. And I voted.
Could I have an opportunity to respond to that, please?
All right, but that's what it is. And there isn't any really, there's not a lot of discussion past that, but go ahead.
Mr. President, so there was an objection that was attempted to be made to the minutes today, and that the Alderwoman from the 6th was not allowed to unmute herself. That was while our mics were still covered. So I just want to say that Mr. President, if I could please finish.
Alderwoman, hold on for a second. We're not going to.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Alderwoman from the 5th. Alderwoman from the 5th, please state your point of order. Hold on for a second. You need to unmute yourself. Go ahead.
Okay, the Alderwoman from the 15th just put up a sign as if we're out at a protest rally or something, and it says "Stop silencing women." I feel that goes against the level of decorum we should be showing as a body out here for the public. If that's the case, we all can put up signs, and I just don't feel that that's appropriate. It's the wrong space for it. That's all I have. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman, point of order well taken. Alderwoman from the 15th, please refrain from holding up signs.
Your staff needs to unmute me and let
during the meeting, and no, you will not be unmuted until you're recognized to talk. This is still a legislative body. We're not at a concert. We're not at a get together in someone's house. We are a legislative branch of government, and you will carry yourself. Everybody's going to have to carry themselves with that, right?
And that includes not speaking.
So Alderwoman, please refrain from speaking out during the meeting. Alderwoman from the 8th, please continue.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I will say that there were attempts to object to the minutes today that were not allowed, and there were a few of us that did vote no on the minutes in order to try to correct what happened last week. And I would also like to point out that our rules specifically states that regular meetings shall be held at 10 a.m. on Fridays. Special meetings shall be held at such times as may be fixed by special motion, which motion shall be approved by a majority of the members present. And
Yeah,
from
and
my
that was the
understanding and my recollection of
that
the
was the
video
motion.
last week, there were a number of objections that happened when that motion was made. Those were not recorded. It says it was a unanimous vote in the minutes, and that is not how I remember that video going.
All right, well, please, you have an opportunity to put whatever you want in the journal. So you can, if you felt like your vote should have been recorded as a no, please add it to the journal. So you can add that information into the journal. But that vote was an affirmative vote last Friday. But you have an opportunity to change your vote if you want to, or clarify your vote in the journal. So you have an opportunity to do that. But the board is in order. There was a motion made with a date, with a specific date in it. And there was a vote taken by the board to approve that date. But we're getting way off subject. And the reason I'm allowing some of this to get a little bit off subject is because we're discussing that, because that's at the core of what the Alderman from 15th brought up. Any further discussion, Alderman from 8?
Yeah, thank you. The last point I wanted to make was I was watching the Rules and Engrossment Committee meeting until this happened, that I believe would have continued if we had not had a special session called now. But to my recollection, it should not be on our third read calendar, because the agenda was prepared before the Rules and Engrossment Committee was adjourned. And so it is not necessarily accurate of what happened in that committee. So because these meetings are so back to back when special sessions are called, we have discrepancies between what came through that committee and what is on the agenda. And we need to be very clear about what was there.
Okay, all right. Anything else? Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to state for the record, I really enjoy working with you on the areas of interest that we have in common. You've definitely never gone out of your way to worry about embarrassing me. And so I don't know why there would be this, but please let me finish.
Okay.
We definitely have a different process than our typical adjournment under the rules for special meetings, and it's not that complicated. It's a special motion. And so I've spent time looking at our rules, talking to the parliamentarian from US Congress, some folks at the state level, to figure out where our rules are silent, because we don't define a special motion. It's pretty clear to me from all the work I've done over the last several days that it's very simple. Just have someone make a special motion and then have a majority of us approve it. It's very easy. And I'm just registering again, when whoever it is has control, I'm being muted on votes. I'm being muted on objections. I objected to the adjournment last meeting, and I definitely objected to the approval of the minutes. And so I think we need to be really careful. I mean, we adopt these rules at the beginning of every session. We have a process by which they can be amended or suspended. And absent that, we should be following them. And I guess I just don't understand why we wouldn't follow something, especially as simple as this. Thanks for letting me have some time.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. And believe it or not, that's what was on my heart, and that's what I did not want to do at that time. If you research the congressional rules, you will find nowhere in the congressional rules where they reference special motion, right? And nowhere in our rules where we reference special motion. Special motion is just a motion outside of the ordinary, right? So normally the majority floor leader in their motion will make the motion for that following Friday. If the majority floor leader makes the motion for any other day than that following Friday, then that is the special motion. That's the only motion, the only opportunity where we take up our next meeting and we take a vote on it, right? So, and people are free to vote up or down that motion. That's
I
just,
would argue that
that's the way
we're
it
not
happens.
able.
Go ahead, Alderman.
I'm being muted again.
Well, I think
We're not being allowed to vote up or down because we're being muted or we're not being recognized. So that's a
No.
huge problem. Yes, yes,
Okay,
that's
here's
absolutely
here's the thing. On some of those motions, and I have to go back and look, but on some of those motions where we had an additional meeting date, you were the second on those motions across these last few weeks, right? So those motions where the majority floor leader made the motion to adjourn to whatever that next date was, you were the second on that motion, right? And uniformly, the board has voted on those things. So that is the special motion, because the motion is not that next Friday, and that motion is taken up by the majority floor leader according to Rule 2, Section 3. So you can take a look at that, and you'll see within that that's the motion that the majority floor leader makes. But anyway, any further? Alderman from the 14th.
I just would like to say that if anybody has any doubt about the subject matter and being partial to one bill over the other, they need to look at the videos from last week and the week before. All the members said they did not like that board bill. They weren't going to vote for it, and therefore they were going to hold it. So I think that, saying that there was no malice or intent by holding that board bill is disingenuous. And I really want to serve on that committee, or wanted to serve on that committee. But when you start parsing out people's intent, to me, that's beyond the pale. And I've tendered my resignation to that committee as of today.
Please don't.
After this.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I can't deal with people that aren't honest. Thank you.
I know, Alderwoman, but please give me let's have an opportunity to talk before you leave the committee. I know others have resigned from the committee, anyway, give me an opportunity to
Mr.
talk.
President, we'll talk about this offline.
All right,
I don't want to
please don't
extend everybody.
resign at this point. And I understand your frustration, but please don't resign at this point. Any further discussion? All right.
I was muted.
All right. All right. Okay. Any further discussion? Alderman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. In light of what we are discovering about the rules in these special meetings, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Roll call.
We have a lot of work ahead of us, but we can move that we adjourn. If we adjourn this meeting, all of the work, including all these things from third reading, consent calendar, all these things are dead until we come back. Or we
On Friday.
Roll call.
And Wednesday
continue
or
to
Tuesday,
Roll
whatever day it
call.
is.
Roll call.
Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
No.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Hubbard.
No.
Alderwoman Engrossment.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Mr. President, I'm sorry, this goes against our rules. According to the rules of the Board of Aldermen, only the majority floor leader, or in his absence, the assistant floor leader can motion to adjourn.
Yeah, but we're gonna allow the motion, Alderman.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
No.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Grass. Alderwoman Murphy.
No.
Alderwoman Howard.
No.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Nope.
Alderman Rhodey.
No.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Yes.
Alderwoman Davis.
No.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad. Alderman Your
No.
Alderman Boyd.
No.
Alderman Vaccaro.
No.
Alderman Ryan.
Pass.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
No.
Alderwoman Boyd.
No.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
No.
Alderwoman Tyus.
Down on the steps to the basement floor, like on that.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
No.
Alderman Coder.
No.
Alderwoman Grass.
No.
Alderman Narayan.
No.
Nine aye votes and 18 no votes.
By your vote, you fail to sustain the motion. Alderperson. We are now back to third reading. Sent Alderman from the 23rd, you're recognized on your motion.
Yes. Because I do feel it was unfairly treated. And I do make a motion that we pass out of the rules of the
Actually,
engrossment meeting.
Alderman from the 23rd, I keep forgetting, it's actually on the agenda, so we will come to you when we get to the regular third reading calendar.
Okay, I thought you were asking me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think
Is my hand still up or something? Or?
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh.
We're okay. Third, Madam Clerk, third reading consent calendar.
Board Bill 23, 53 as amended, 55, 57 as amended, 65, 66 as amended, 14, 17, 18, 19, 30, 31, 33, 34, 35, 40, 49 as amended, 52, 54, 56, and 59.
Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize on the motion for third reading consent calendar.
Mr. President, I'd like to put Board Bill 51 on the third reading calendar.
On the regular third reading calendar.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, please make note of that. You said 51.
Right.
Board Bill 51.
And 29.
They are already on the third reading, report of engrossments and final passage.
They're not on the consent calendar?
No, they're not on the.
Okay, then I take that back. I move for adoption of a third reading consent calendar.
Second.
By Alderman from 22nd, second by Alderman from the 10th. Any discussion? Alderman from 6, you have some discussion on the third reading consent calendar. Alderman from the 6th. All right, it's been moved by Alderman from the 10th, 22nd, seconded by Alderman from the 10th. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrooks.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Muted again. Aye.
Alderwoman Grass.
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Alderman.
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Present during an illegitimate meeting.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed. President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley.
I am.
Well, none of us are.
Yeah.
Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. (26) aye votes and 1 present.
I vote staying the motion of Alderman from 22nd and 3rd read and finally pass the aforementioned bills. 3rd reading, report of engrossments.
Board Bill 29, sponsored by Alderman Vaccaro, Alderwoman Howard, and Alderman Balmer. An ordinance submitting to the qualified voters of the City of St. Louis a proposal to revise Section 2 of Article 8 of the City of St. Louis Charter, which requires city employees to reside within the boundaries of the City of St. Louis and thus allows said employees, except for city agency and department directors appointed by the mayor, to reside outside of the boundaries of the City of St. Louis, and providing for an election to be held for voting on the proposed revision and the manner of voting thereat, and for the publication, certification, deposit, and recording of this ordinance, and contain an emergency clause.
Alderman from the 23rd, you recognize on 3rd reading, final passage of Board Bill number 29.
So, like I said, if anybody goes back and looks at the meeting, the only reason it's been engrossed. The only reason
First, you would like to do, we want to make a motion, 3rd reading, final passage.
Well, I would,
then
yeah, so, okay, well, actually, I think we've probably gone long enough. I would like to have this 3rd read and final passed.
Been moved by Alderman from the 23rd and 10th.
Second.
seconded by Alderman from the 10th. Now you can discuss, Alderman. Go ahead.
Well, I think I'm just going to renew my motion. It's been discussed. 20 of us passed this already. I would just like to get this over with and off my chest, which is getting sorer and sorer by the minute. The stress is just, so I just renew my motion.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 8th.
Mr. President, I would still like to know from our clerk if this is appropriately on the third read calendar. If it needs to be discharged from a committee, then that needs to be made by a motion.
No, it's my understanding that the bill was engrossed by the committee. That's the word I just got from the clerk and others who watched the meeting, that the Board Bill 29 was engrossed. And this is third reading report of engrossments and final passage of the bill. So it should be properly before us if indeed it has been engrossed. And that's my understanding, that it has been engrossed.
Okay, I appreciate it. If I could speak on the bill.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know that this one has been hashed and rehashed over and over and over again, and I would just like to maintain my opposition to this bill. We are in a time where one of the next bills coming up in front of us is on police reform. The city of Minneapolis has a significant problem with police officers residing outside the city boundaries and are looking to institute a residency requirement to bring police back inside the boundaries of the city so that they are more apt to see the people that they are working with as neighbors and not as just criminals or other folks that they are interacting with. And I don't mean to paint an entirely broad brush and say that every officer will immediately think those things, but when someone could be living in Fenton and coming into the city of St. Louis to patrol our streets, and our police are already faced with feelings of over militarization. We are giving them the tools of war, not the tools of peace in our neighborhoods. And so for them, the rise of the warrior cop is a well-documented phenomenon in the United States. And so when you have people who are coming in from a far distance looking like invading forces, right? I realize that police are a small part of this issue. We are also talking about city workers, but I want to very clearly make my feelings known about the potential for police specifically to be residing outside the bounds of the city of St. Louis. We have a lot of issues as the city of St. Louis, and I think pulling the escape hatch right now and has far-reaching consequences that we're not looking towards right now. And particularly when we have a hiring freeze going into this next year, we are not looking to fill these 700 vacant positions. And so opening this up right now when we have not done a thorough review of the personnel process, with all of the complaints that we have gotten from constituents about not being able to get applications heard, about hearing back 6 months later about an interview via letter, all of these things are significant issues. And so to continue to push that this is going to be another savior program for the city of St. Louis, I think is misguided, particularly with what we're seeing across the country right now. So I'd like to just register my vehement no on this bill.
Am I allowed to speak on that?
No, Alderman, not yet. Any further discussion? Alderman from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I also rise in opposition to this, not just because I am opposed to this bill, but also because of the process that is getting us here. I think it's very interesting that, when the tables are turned and some folks don't get their way exactly the way that they want it to, that suddenly the rules get made in their favor. There's a lot of folks at this board who are dissenting voices. Those of us who, fight a lot of battles that we're not always on the winning side of, like this one today. And we've been treated pretty horrifically by members of this board. And when that treatment has happened, there's often silence from other members of the Board of Aldermen. I appreciate the number of people that have been speaking out over the last couple of weeks on the treatment of women and being silenced in this board in particular. I am a person where you know, our president of the board thought it was great to go on a shock jock radio show.
Alderwoman, please keep your comments germane to subject matter.
I am getting there.
Point of order.
I am getting there.
Alderwoman, you will have plenty of time to attack me relentlessly.
I have a point.
But the
I have
floor
a point if I'm allowed to.
Alderwoman, the floor is not the place to do that. That's the only thing I'm saying to you. So the subject matter of this bill has to do with residency.
Yes, it does. And I am getting to that point if I am allowed to make my point.
All right.
You know, we look at the police in this city as a part of bully culture. And a lot of the reason that we don't want our police residing outside of the Board of Aldermen or outside of the city limits is because of concern that bully culture will only get worse if folks are farther and farther removed from our community and the plight of folks that live here. I think it's ridiculous that this body has different sets of rules for different people who live here or who are on this Board of Aldermen. And I think that by passing this, we are giving different sets of rules to our police officers. And we are basically setting a standard where we are saying it is acceptable for our police to not know our community, to not be a part of our community. And we are acting exactly in opposite to the values that we purport to hold as a board. And so I think that this board bill is about forwarding bully culture. And it's a bully culture that is fully embraced by this board, who stays silent when you know, our president thinks it'd be funny to rape me on a radio.
Alderwoman, you are wholly and completely out of line. And you know you are, because I'm just speechless with the statement you just made. Just absolutely speechless with the statement you just made.
And I will just close, and I will.
No, you've closed. You've closed, Alderwoman. If you want to take a deep breath, I'll come back to you in a minute. But please understand that there is a certain amount of decorum that we will enforce at this board.
Where was the decorum?
No, none of us.
Where was the decorum with?
Alderwoman, we're not getting into that. It's like when you called Sam Moore a spade, right? That was not acceptable either, but we're moving forward. We're not going to get into those things. Those things are wholly and completely out of order on this floor. Alderman from the 18th. Alderman from the 18th. Alderman from the 18th. There you go.
Okay, I stand in opposition to this bill on several grounds. Number one, I feel we just gave the city employees, including the police, a raise. The police officers got almost a $6,000 raise, and so then after we give a raise, we give a bonus, and still they don't want to stay in the city. This would take taxes away from our city. With this COVID-19, we need the taxes for what? The home. We haven't even talked about giving the homeless and the poor people masks. We have not talked about giving the homeless and the poor people food. We have not talked about shelter. We have not talked about medical care. While we're talking, and so we need those taxes for that. Then we're talking about, we also have problem with the capital budget. We're talking about cutting the capital budget that the taxpayers passed, and we, at the same time, we don't know what effect, if this bill is passed, will have on the tax base. The other thing is that the people who are promoting that the police want to leave the city, they will have organized money behind them to promote this thing that will bankrupt. Let me say this, my prediction is the city would get bankrupt even the one, I'm speaking to help the workers, because if we don't have people paying taxes, retirement with the people's not me. I won't get in the city retirement, but the same people who tell me they want to run to the county, if we don't have taxes to pay their retirement, if we don't have taxes to pay for services, and people move out of this city, then they won't have jobs neither. So I think it's very short-sighted. I think when they pass this, give them a raise for a bonus, and they don't care enough about, and then not only a raise, but a bonus, and they don't care enough about the city to live here. I question their commitment, whereas you can, it's good enough to come here and take the money, but you want to leave. But the other thing is we are living in a racist city. We're living in a city where Black people are the last hired, the first fired. We are owed reparation. For example, it wouldn't be any difference in any race or nationality or ethnic group except our history. And since we are the last hired, first fired, been over-policed by those same police officers, mass incarceration, now they're hollering, you got a police record. We have plenty of people right here in this city that can do the job, that should get the job. We would never be able to level the playing field until we get reparation, but this can be a down payment. And let me repeat, this is not some kind of welfare, some kind of something they're giving to us. We are owed 600 years. We gave 400 years of free labor, and so the point I'm making is these employees need, those who don't want to stay here can probably get a job much easier someplace else. But this will make us safer, the more people we can get jobs for. And especially African Americans, because we've been made undereducated because our schools have been underfunded. We were not allowed to, for many years, not even allowed to read. If we did, write. If we did, we would get killed. And then we were segregated in St. Louis. And then they talk about a test score. So I'm going to say this, we're creating a propaganda, and we're creating a situation of genocide. When we get rid of all the jobs, then we hire people from outside to take the few jobs that we could have for St. Louis citizens who have been staying in the city through thick and thin, some whites and Blacks, and there are poor whites, and there are whites who could take some of these jobs too, who live right here in this city, who have been through thick and thin staying here. Those white and Black people should be rewarded, and it would make all of us safer. Because if people got jobs and they got money, they won't be stealing, they won't be robbing, they won't be killing. So when we allow these workers to take jobs, what we're doing is destroying families. Taking jobs is not just taking jobs, it's more than that. We destroy lives. We end up killing people. So I'm gonna end by saying this. I don't know of any worse thing we can do than to have people from outside flood our city and then pretend not acknowledge that those same people could get jobs anywhere, most of them. And the ones who can't get jobs, what they're gonna do is use this as a training ground, especially the police and many others. Once they get the training, then they're gonna go work where they, quote unquote, in a better environment. And that's what usually happens. And I saw it as an educator in the St. Louis Public Schools. And so I'm just using my experience to say that it will probably happen the same way here. And the last thing is that police officers and other workers, but especially if they come in not knowing and it's not their fault if they've been looking at the media and never met poor people, Black, and especially African Americans, they, through no fault of their own, they're going to have a view of African Americans that's not true, but it's the 5:30 news that comes on, 5 o'clock news come on every day telling them about how we are killing each other. And then of course they're going to come in unprepared to deal with the reality of poverty, with the reality of even some of them haven't even been near an African American. They just want a poor white person in their case, or even in the urban area, they may even have a view of urban people than city people. But the point is that I think it's just really going to hurt our citizens who've been here. It's going to hurt our tax base. It's going to hurt. It will just be very hurtful to put this on the ballot when the people with the money in the organization will convince people that it should pass for them. So I think it's very unfair to the vote, to the citizens.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, so I want to answer a few things and I want to move on. First off, the police already could live outside the city. And in Jeff City, they're going to pass it. So your argument is crazy. It's not logical. I also there still will be paying earnings tax. So that's not going to make a difference. Let me calm down a minute. They're going to still be paying earnings tax. It doesn't mean they're not going to. I think that if we don't vote for this, it's going to pass in Jeff City. It's already up there. We don't have control over the police and fire, but I think the voters deserve a right. And a little off subject, you can certainly cut my mic off. The alderman from the 6th is still refusing to hear John Muhammad's bill because she doesn't like it. And even in the last meeting, she said, oh, we'll get to it. I know, I'm out of order.
Come back to, yeah.
Let me just say, we had 20 votes. I hope everybody sticks with this. It simply puts it on a ballot. So once and for all, this can end. I honestly believe the people should get a vote. And again, a little bit off subject, maybe, and you could stop me. You've done this before on minimum wage. I was not fond of that. You held extra meetings. There were no objections to that. So I'm just saying, for those that say you're treating everybody unfairly, no, you try to do it the best you can.
Point of order, this is not germane.
With all that,
Alderman from the 23rd.
With all that, I would renew my motion and hopefully we pass out Board Bill 29.
All right, Alderman from the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. I'm going to be very brief because this will be my third experience of voting for whether or not the police should live in the city or not. Behind each one of these measures, the public voted, yes, you will live in the city. And each time we came up with different incentives to help policemen in their residency in the city. We had a campaign for landlords to reduce rent for police officers. And another one, we raised money and gave down payments for police officers to buy homes in the city. And also gave, later on, the rule was passed after 7 years of service, you can move outside of the city. So police officers who come in young, maybe not married or have families yet, they're fine with that because they know that by the time that child is ready for school or whatever, they can move outside the city. But I do honestly believe that the people of the city of St. Louis, I don't care how much money you spend on an initiative. We've seen people spend millions of dollars on initiatives and they lose. If the residents want the police to live in the city, they will vote accordingly. And I believe they're going to win a third time. Let's just, if you want to put it to rest, that's how you do it. And it'll be over and done with. No need for any more conversation. But again, this is my third experience. So thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman from the 14th, you had your hand up, but it's down.
I did, and I would like to speak to this. I think that, as the Alderwoman from the 19th said, the people have the vote. And then when you talk about fairness and rightness, and this is not just about the city police department, it's about recruiting people to work in our city. We don't have tree trimmers that live in the city. I mean, look around. We don't have the collective workforce here in the city willing to go to work and do some of the jobs that we ask to be done. I think that, if the people want it, they will vote for it. Many of the people, I know that I've surveyed my ward, many of them are against it because they're afraid people are going to move out. But I think at the same time, when I'm telling people we don't have people to trim the trees, we don't have people to sweep the streets, I think that needs to be put in their hands. If they choose to do that, I feel as though it lets them have that choice. And it's not just about the police. I think when you try to put it only on public safety, we have plenty of fine police officers that remain here in the city. We have plenty of fine firefighters that remain here in the city. I'm from a family of firefighters and police. I grew up, lived in the city all my life. I didn't migrate here from someplace outside. So I think that when you give it to the people that have the investment here in St. Louis, they will make the right decision for themselves. And I think it takes it out of our hands. We cannot be nannying everybody in the city. We have intelligent constituents that are able to make an intelligent decision. And that said, if you don't think your constituents are smart enough to make the right decision, I'm sorry. That's pretty sad. But I think that we need to turn it over to our constituency, put this to rest, let them do what they think is best for them. It's a 60% vote, 2/3 majority almost. It's not an easy one, but I think we need to give that to them so that we can legitimately say, you can say, personnel is doing this, people aren't recruiting, they're getting the runaround. When you look at all the job fairs, we cannot, when people get to that bottom line, they have to relocate to take a job in the city. They don't pay enough. It's not like they're going to get $100,000 to move into the city and take a job. So we're out there trying to offer $35,000, a beginning entry level job, and ask people to move. It's folly. So with that said, I will defer to the Alderwoman from the 23rd. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman from the 9th. Alderman from the 9th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I believe I'm just looking for like a point of clarification here. It's still my understanding that this bill is still in the Rules Committee. So my question is, are we voting to pull this out of Rules Committee, which will require a 2/3 vote, or did you just automatically do that and we're just debating the passage now? So that's my question.
Okay, first to discharge any bill from any committee is a simple majority. It's not a 2/3 vote. It's just a simple majority. This bill has been engrossed, right? It has been engrossed through the Rules and Engrossments Committee. So if it's been engrossed and this is third reading, report of engrossments is properly before us, right? It's my understanding that they're holding it for enrollment, which is again a ministerial thing that happens under the enrollment calendar when I sign them, right? So that's where we are. That's what we're doing right now. Okay, thank you. Any further questions, Alderman from the 9th? Anything further, Alderman from the 9th? Okay. All right.
Nope.
Okay, thanks. Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to clear something up. regarding some statements that the alderman from the 23rd made erroneously. First of all, I don't know where it's coming from, why he's concerned about Alderman Muhammad's Board Bill 77, but it's on the calendar for Monday. And also, when we argued minimum wage, that was a special session. Those were special sessions, not meetings.
You got,
Those were called by the mayor. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thank you, thank you. You got that in there. Before I got to Alderman from the 24th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to keep it brief here and just say I agree very much with the Alderwoman from the 19th. We've had these discussions kind of over and over, both as residents of the city and at this board. I also agree with the Alderwoman from the 14th that this isn't just about the police, it's about city workers as a whole. If it was just about the police, I think it would be a much trickier issue for me. But when we look at the city workers as a whole, I think she brought up quite a fair point that, you know, folks like tree trimmers simply don't live in the city. They live around trees, you know, we need to make sure that our essential services are being met. And I know that if we put this on the ballot, a whole lot of people may not go for it at the ballot. And I think that it's probably the right thing to go ahead and put it on the ballot and see what the voters say. And on that note, I also hope that we keep the same energy moving forward to get things on the ballot that we did for airport and for this residency bill when we look at ward reduction moving forward, something that the entire Black Caucus has stood on. If we're going to say it's the right thing to throw these big issues to the voters, I think we need some consistency. And that is all I have. I'll be supportive of this today. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. Alderwoman from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I, in the past, had been in opposition to this bill for many reasons. One being that we could never be, you know, certain about if it was a true deterrent to the numbers in our police department. And whenever we asked for that data, we never got that data. I understand that, you know, some people may choose to reside outside the city, or they may want to, but I believe like some of our new classes that have came in, they've been given that option to live outside the city, and they're still short officers. So I don't know if that's a true deterrent to us getting jobs and stuff. And so my real point is that I think as doing this and putting this to the voters will decide, but I think that there are some issues with our hiring processes. There's no way in the world we should have so many jobs online. And then when you talk to different police officers, and they'll say they have people who've been in queue for so long and in some ways hung up in personnel. So I think that, of course, put it to the voters, let them decide. But I think that we really need to revisit our hiring processes throughout every department and see why we have so many vacancies with the city of St. Louis. It makes you wonder if those numbers are being kept down for a reason, but I definitely would like for us to delve into that. And I'm gonna be a yes vote. I was a present vote last time, but I hope that the people decide the right way. And so that's all I have, Mr. President.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman from the 18th. Alderman from the 18th. There you go. Oh, what happened? There you go. What's going on with you? Alderman from the 18th.
And muted.
Yeah, I don't know why.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
Back and forth.
Okay, sorry. Okay, sorry. We have Slate that could train workers to be great tree trimmers. Trimming trees is an art. We have artists. Again, this is not really a race issue. This is about keeping hiring our residents first. Then we have street sweepers. We have plenty of street sweepers. Could it be too that a person, I'm going back to the Bible since I'm a Christian. I think about St. Paul, who wrote most of the Bible. He had, if he were here today, he would be accessory to murder and many other crimes. But people can change. So is it that we sometimes a person make a mistake, or even do something out of poverty, or just agree to whatever they do it for, get a police record, for example. They're gifted people, and so we have people who are artists who can do trees. We have people who can cut grass. Look at, if you go north, since I live in part of my wards in North St. Louis, what we need is the workers. We are able to hire people in forestry part-time. My question would be, if they are paid a minimum of $15 an hour with full benefits, we can train. I think more than 90% of the jobs in the city of St. Louis can be done by people who live in St. Louis. And this would help reduce our crime rate. It would keep families together. So we do it. And street sweepers, we have plenty of street people, poor people, both African Americans and also poor whites too. We've had people who take pride in sweeping, being street sweepers, and that is maize and picking cotton and whatever they had to do, especially African Americans. We did it, and half of the people, in many cases, before blacks migrated north, we didn't even get paid for it. Half of them didn't. So it's disingenuous to say we can't find anybody. We can find plenty of people. Is it that? So I think we need to change. We need to step up to the plate and change personnel, change the way we advertise jobs. Everybody doesn't have a computer. We should by wards. We should do as we do when we campaign for office. Do some robocalls. Put out signs. That's how we get people. That's how we get people. And when people know they got an opportunity to get a job, they get motivated. They get a GED or whatever they need. They get that job, and it'll make all of us safer. And I think this is the main point: is that we need to take care of the people in this city at this particular time, because many African Americans were caught up in this mass incarceration where they locked black people up for crack cocaine, and we're not locking whites up for crack cocaine. But then opioid crisis, I don't see mass incarceration because it's predominantly white. So these people with these police records who are coming home or who have all these long sentences, who shouldn't even be in jail, who with this COVID-19 would be glad to get these jobs, and these people that are intelligent enough, once they find out that they got a future, they would get married, they would have children, most of them would become solid citizens. They only live that lifestyle because they don't see any other viable alternative. So we got to do what President Roosevelt, which was a work share program, and get as many people who want to work prepared for the work we have in St. Louis by using Slate. And as I said, more than 90% of the people in St. Louis can get those jobs. And for those who want to move out, some of them are not doing anything anyway but feather bedding. Let me say that. Now, there are some good workers, but there are some of them who should move and shouldn't be, they should just be dismissed because they don't want to be here, they don't want to work. What they want is a free check. Not all, and I want to make that very clear. The majority of the workers in the city does a good job, but I think there are some who want to take the check and run, and those that minority that wants to do that, they should just go get a job somewhere else. And the only reason they won't because they think they got a good thing here in St. Louis. So I'm gonna end with that because they certainly are not committed to live here with them wanting to take. But we need more committed people who are willing to do the work, and we need to be willing to use Slate to train them. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Alderman from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. You know, I've been down here for nearly 12 years now, and I've had previous board bills, come before this body where I've been part of the debate. I understand that this has been precipitated by a need in terms of our ability to hire qualified candidates for roles in the city. I really still struggle though, because every time that this comes up for discussion, inevitably it will turn to, how our personnel department is operating, how, civil service operates. And, I really struggle because we keep talking about residency as the root of these issues, but we're not calling in the personnel director or civil service commission members to have discussions around how the system is actually operating. I have a copy of the charter here. The last amendment to the charter, which failed by happenstance, that was pertaining to Article 18, which is the civil service article, was last introduced in 2004. That was 16 years ago. And prior to that, most of them were in the 80s and the 50s and in the 40s, which means that our charter hasn't really had a thorough review as it pertains to civil service in well over 20 years. So, I'm going to vote present on this because I do believe, that the public will end up having a right to vote. I have faith in the electorate that, this would end up, failing at the ballot box. But I really want to implore my colleagues, particularly those that are sitting on the the Public Employees Committee, to take a look at our city charter and what other items can we review and make recommendations to the public to vote on, to update our charter, to make it more accommodating to today's workforce. We have a charter that is almost 100 years old at this point. The civil service, not quite, at least in its current form, not quite as old, but, we have decades worth of change to implement to catch up with today's workforce standards while keeping the integrity of the civil service. I'm very much a believer in civil service. But I think that, we should be at least updating and codifying those statutes in our charter to make sure that it's complementary to today's workforce needs and the needs of our government and our constituency. And so while I understand some of my colleagues' desire to send this out to the ballot to understand where our constituents are on the issue, to send a message to Jefferson City, or to advocate for employees to be able to be recruited from the entire region versus just the city. I understand those different dynamics, but I don't think that ultimately this is the root cause of our issues. I think we need to look deeper than that. I think we need to try and fix the system, as it pertains to our hiring practices, our personnel practices and department, and really try and do our best to make those improvements as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 23rd, you recognize the close.
This time, yes. First off, I do appreciate everybody's comments. I would hope that everybody votes yes on this. And Alderman Ryan, thank you. I know last time you were president. I just want to get this to the voters. It's gonna, the police live outside the city. Let's get it to the voters. Let them make this decision. I've never opposed any bill that anybody's ever put up asking them to put something to the voters. And I would ask for the same courtesy. Let's give this to the voters. With that, I just renew my motion.
It's been moved by the Alderman from 23rd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th, that we third reading, final pass, Board Bill number 29. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Negracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
No.
Alderman Gunther.
Pass.
That was passed.
Pass.
Alderman Ballmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Grass.
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
No.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
No.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
I think she's muted.
No.
Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Present.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
$22 aye votes, 4 no votes, and 1 present.
Thank you so
By
much.
your vote, you sustain the motion of Alderman from the 23rd and third read and final pass, Board Bill number 29.
Board Bill 51, sponsored by Alderman Boyd, an ordinance amending Section 1 of Ordinance 62101, codified in Chapter 1762010 of the Revised Code of Ordinances of the City of St. Louis to designate the Parking Commissioner as chairperson of the Parking Commission and to designate the Parking Commission as the city's authority responsible for overseeing public parking, including planning and coordinating public parking policies, programs, and operations for any parking facility or area that is owned, leased, or otherwise managed or controlled by the parking division, whether in whole or part, and to establish the duties and responsibilities of the Parking Commission and to establish the duties and responsibilities of the treasurer of the supervisor of the parking meters.
Alderman from the 22nd, recognized on third reading and final passes of Board Bill 51.
Board, I move for third reading final passage of Board Bill 51.
Second. From the 22nd, seconded by the Alderman from the 10th. Any discussion? Alderman from the 22nd, please proceed.
Yes, Mr. President, this is a very simple board bill. This board bill basically creates oversight of the parking operations. Under the state statute, hold on, I need to pause because I'm trying to do 2 things at one time and I got problems with some of my computer. Hold on for me. Hold on.
There you go. You sound really good now.
Hold on. No, I got too much going on. Okay. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, great. So again, Board Bill 51 has to do with creating oversight of the parking operations. On the only thing that I'm doing is I'm taking the state statute language and I'm codifying it with the city ordinance. If we operate under state statute is very clear of the roles and responsibility of the parking supervisor and the roles and responsibility of the parking commission. Because of the court actions, we're governed now under city ordinance. And unfortunately, it has never been codified under city ordinance, the roles and responsibility of the parking commission and the parking supervisor. So the only thing I'm doing is I'm taking the language, the exact same language from the state statute, and I'm placing it in the city ordinance. Now, what's troubling for me in this exercise is the fact that our current city treasurer and the alderwoman from the first ward are obstructing this. Now, our current city treasurer prides herself on transparency and integrity. So I'm just not sure why they would be opposed to a bill that does the exact same thing that state statute does, in which the current treasurer is using hundreds of thousands of dollars of taxpayers' dollars to stop this action at the Supreme Court level. Although there was a promise to transfer parking operations to the city 8 years ago. It makes no sense. This is very simple. It's very plain. Again, I'm taking the exact same language, and I want anybody to go to the state statutes which governs this. And the only thing I'm doing is taking that language and implementing it to city code, so that we have a parking commission that has a duty, an authorized duty to have oversight of what's happening with parking operations. This shouldn't be a fight. It's unfortunate that the chairman of rules decided to hold this up for political purposes, but you cannot convince me that you're about transparency and you're about integrity and you do not want this bill heard, or you don't want this bill to pass. It flies in the face of integrity and transparency. And so I just appeal to my colleagues to vote for this. It's very simple. Again, it's taking the same state statute language that our current treasurer loves to use to govern herself, because she's not interested in this being part of city government. And with that, I just ask for your favorable consideration.
Alderwoman from the 8th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just had a clarifying question if the alderman from the 22nd would yield.
Alderman from the 22nd will yield the question to the alderwoman from the 8th.
Absolutely.
Alderwoman from the 8th, please proceed.
Thank you, Alderman. I just had a question. It seems really straightforward to me as well, but there was a question about why the comptroller and the parking administrator were not included in your bill as members of the parking commission. Could you speak to that, please?
Absolutely, great question. Because currently our code only allows for the director of streets, the treasurer, and the chairman of streets, refuse, and traffic. So that's it. And that's all it really needs to be. And here's one thing that I have a problem with, and I'm so glad you asked this question, because the state statute makes no sense to me. The state statutes gives the treasurer the authority to appoint a parking commissioner, right? Well, it doesn't give the treasurer that authority. The parking administrator is just appointed by the treasurer, but the state statute has language in there whereby that person is a vote on the parking commission. So the treasurer will have 2 votes out of 5 votes. And that doesn't seem fair. It doesn't seem reasonable. And it's improper as far as I'm concerned. I mean, why would you have a commission?
Could I clarify, under this state statute, what is the makeup of a parking commission supposed to be?
Sure. I think you already know the answer to this question.
No, I actually don't. I was looking for the statute. So,
but but Alderwoman, don't play games with me. You just said the
Alderman Boyd, I actually resent that. I'm just trying to ask you questions.
No, let me make a point. Alderwoman, you asked me why was the comptroller and the parking administrator omitted. Did you not ask me that question?
I did.
Thank you. And so that means you already know the composition based on state statute. Am I correct?
No, you're not correct,
I'm
because
not
I'm
correct.
looking for the state statute right now, and I was informed that there was a question as to why, and so that is why I am asking you.
Okay.
So if you have the state statute, I would love to look it up. That's what I was trying to look at
I
as we are going
I
forward
can
here.
email you the state statute. I don't have time to do it right now, but I can certainly email it to you, the state statute. But according to state statute, there are 5 members. The members is the treasurer as the parking supervisor, the parking administrator, the director of streets, the chairman of streets, refuse and traffic, and the comptroller. That is the composition.
Okay. So
And
can I ask, I understand your position on the parking administrator, as that would be 2 votes from underneath the treasurer's office, but what would be the reason for leaving the comptroller off of the parking commission?
Because it was years ago, the way it was set up, it left the comptroller out.
Okay. All right.
And
thank you for answering my questions. I appreciate it.
maintained that status quo of that because it was practical then, and I thought it was reasonable.
Okay, thank you for answering my questions. I understand that we're trying to come in line with the state statute here. I am just curious as to why there have been several moves lately at the board to diminish the comptroller's role in fiscal oversight. And I understand that she's not currently on the parking commission, but if that is how the state statute is made, then this is not an identical copy of state statute. And so I have some concerns about that, and I realize that we have an election as well. We've got ongoing legislation. There's a lot of history here, so I'm just trying to clarify what exactly it is that we're doing here and what sort of oversight roles are there. So thank you for entertaining the discussion.
And Alderwoman, I would say it's an unfair and unjust statement that you would say that I'm attempting to diminish the role of the comptroller. That is absolutely not what I'm trying to do, and I resent that assertion that you're making, because that is not what I'm trying to do. The comptroller
Point
is
of order,
very
Mr. President. Who has the floor right now?
I do.
I don't think that's accurate. Actually, Mr. President, you're muted.
Hold on a second. Alderwoman from the 8th, you still have the floor. If you are done questioning the Alderman from the 22nd, then you can, are you done questioning?
I did complete my questioning, but not, I was speaking. Well, so now that there was counter to that, though, when Alderman Boyd did not have the floor.
Hold on a second. Alderman from 22nd, you will have an opportunity to close a little bit later, but if the Alderwoman from the 8th is done questioning you now, we're back to the Alderwoman from the 8th. Alderwoman from the 8th, please proceed.
Thank you. I was attempting to cede back to you, Mr. President, for any further discussion, but I was not, Alderman from the 22nd, I was not trying to imply that you specifically are doing this. There are just a number of measures that are coming forward that seem to diminish the comptroller's role. I understand that the current makeup of the parking commission does not include her. I wonder, as one of the 3 equal members of the board of E&A, the 3 most powerful positions in the city, if we should not be elevating the comptroller's role for a city that's fiscally challenged right now and not diminishing it. So thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to speak on the bill.
All right. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Any further discussion? Alderman from the 22nd, you recognize the call.
No, Mr. President, a point of order. I have further discussion.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, so with the Alderwoman from the 8th ward, yield, please.
Alderwoman from the 8th, will yield the question to the Alderman from the 22nd.
Of course.
Okay, Alderwoman, you made a statement that you find that there's a number of, I guess, activities to diminish, I'm paraphrasing because I can't repeat it exactly, to diminish the role of the comptroller. Would you be willing to share a couple examples of what you're talking about? Because certainly if I'm engaged in those activities, I want to be aware of that.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alderman from the 22nd. I am particularly concerned with the ongoing airport privatization efforts, those specifically the
one point of order. Wait a minute, point of order. Okay. I'm only talking about this bill. So unless you're talking about this bill,
just trying to answer your question, Alderman.
Okay, but we want to be germane to the bill. And
right, but you asked me, and what I was speaking to when I asked you the question and when I spoke on the bill was in general. There, I said there have been a number of efforts in front of the board, so I am including those as
Got you.
as
Okay,
those
I'm
efforts.
with you. I'm with you. Okay. So the airport.
Both the petition for the airport and Board Bill 71 do not give the comptroller equal partnership in any oversight committee or selection body. And I believe that that is a significant problem as we're dealing with fiscal matters for the city of St. Louis.
Okay, so my question is 2 examples. We already know about Board Bill 51 and your position, but give me so a third example, if you will, of diminishing the comptroller's role.
The petition on the airport and Board Bill 71 both do that. Those are my 2 examples at the moment.
I thought the petition and the board bill was near the same. So 71.
Well, according to Mr. President, they are not the same. So
okay, so would you indulge me and just give me one extra? Just give me an extra outside of the airport.
That it would be difficult for me to come up with at the moment. I am particularly focused on the airport because those are the 2 proposals that are in front of us at the moment.
Okay, so I want to certainly appreciate the fact that you're concerned about the comptroller role being diminished. That's certainly not something I would support. Okay, I want to be very clear with that. But this board bill has to do with general oversight of the parking operations. And I think it's irresponsible of us to not have some type of oversight because we have this unorthodox parking commission. Certainly parking operations should be part of city government. Then we wouldn't be dealing with these particular issues back and forth. Again, that's why I have engaged in the lawsuit so that I can go to the Supreme Court. Since we have to go there, we don't have to go to Supreme Court. I want people to know because the circuit court level have ruled that the state statute is unconstitutional and parking operations should basically be part of city government. But if people want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to challenge that and keep a broken promise, and the progressive people out there, that support, us being progressive as a city, they want to support the waste of taxpayers' dollars. That's their right. But I'm a principled person. I'm not perfect. Let's be clear with that. But I do think that if you talk about good government and you talk about good policy, then most of us would agree that this is insane, that the fact that the parking operations is part of the treasurer's office, period, and that we spending hundreds of thousands of dollars up to the Supreme Court level makes absolutely no sense, and it really hurts the taxpayers. But thank you very much, Alderwoman from the 8th Ward, for entertaining that. And with that, Mr. President, I'll renew my motion. Thank you.
It's been moved by Alderman from the 22nd, seconded by Alderman from the 10th, that we third read and finally pass Board Bill number 51. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Pass.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Engross.
No.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
No.
Alderman Gunther.
No.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Grass.
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
No.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis.
You're muted.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
No.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro,
Aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Evans,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
21 aye votes, 5 no votes, and 1 present.
By vote, you stay in the motion, and third read and finally passed Board Bill 51.
Board Bill 63, Committee Sub as amended, sponsored by President Reed, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderman Muhammad, Alderwoman Middlebrook, Alderwoman Hubbard, Alderman Bosley, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderman Todd, Alderwoman Boyd, Alderman Ryan, and Alderman Coulthard. An ordinance codifying into law the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department Use of Force Policy Special Order SO1-01 issued April 16th, 2014, to include a ban on officers using chokeholds or strangleholds as a use of force method, a requirement for officers to use de-escalation tactics when appropriate and possible in place of use of force tactics, to establish a duty to intervene policy, ban on no-knock warrants, and include comprehensive reporting requirements, and contain a severability and an emergency clause.
Alderman from the 21st, you recognize on the third reading and final passage of Board Bill 63, Committee Substitute as amended. And just to note, there were a bunch more co-sponsors. This is, so if you don't recognize, if your name isn't on this agenda, this is, there are a lot more co-sponsors on the actual bill based on our last meeting. And the clerk will update it for the final records before entering it into the journal. Alderman from the 21st, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move to finally pass Board Bill 63 as amended.
Moved by Alderman.
Second.
21st, seconded by Alderman from the 23rd and someone else, but I didn't catch it. I just said Alderman from the 23rd. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Alderman from the 24th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to let my colleagues know that I hope for their favorable support on this. I know that we've had a ton of discussions of late about policing, the role of police in our communities, and how we would like to be policed as a society. And I think that this gets to the heart of many of those issues. This isn't any sort of radical change. This bill simply codifies into law many existing policies and then takes it a bit further in the direction that it seems like as a city we've been looking at heading towards. And I think that it's necessary to have kind of common sense measures like this come into place in order to maintain and restore the respect in between the community and the police department. So I co-sponsored this because I am very supportive of these types of measures. I think that it doesn't make sense to kind of make knee-jerk changes when it comes to policy of this importance. But I think it's time. We've looked at a ton of this stuff for years, and it's time that we make some of these reforms that we've heard about over and over and over every time that we've looked at the data. And so I would encourage anyone who may be on the fence on this one to vote for it and kind of pull our policing forward in a way that the community has been asking for quite some time. And I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Alderman from the 24th. Alderman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate those of you who brought this board bill forward. I I know you mentioned that the co-sponsorship maybe wasn't accurate, reflected
Yeah.
on the agenda. So just wanted to double check that I'm on there. And then I
Yes,
also
you
don't
are.
want to diminish the work that some of the organizations like Forward Through Ferguson, Action St. Louis, and Local Progress are doing. So looking forward to continued conversations to add to the important work that we're doing with this board bill. So thanks for bringing it forward, and looking forward to voting yes on it.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman from the 15th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I also wanted to double check that my name is a co-sponsor on this. I think that this is a really great sort of incremental step toward where we need to be headed. And, you know, given that this is police department policy now, I think it is important that we codify policies that we, you know, want to see our police use. I hope that a next step in this could be, you know, bringing back the bill on use of force around tear gas and pepper spray and things like that. That is also a call to action from Forward Through Ferguson. While also recognizing that the conversations that our community are having right now around policing are really centered around defunding and creating a different public safety system than the one that we have right now, one that aligns our budget priorities with health and human services and affordable housing and education rather than jails and incarceration. And so I hope that as this body moves forward throughout this next session and we go into next year's budget cycle, that police department budget looks a whole lot different than it does right now, and that this next year is taken to really go through and line by line look at the police department budget. It is my understanding that Auditor Galloway will be releasing her audit of St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department very shortly, which will give us a blueprint for what we need to be looking at to start to realign our public safety dollars with something that actually supports people in our community and doesn't just continue to put absurd amounts of our money into policing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Alderwoman from the 11th.
Thank you. I agree. This is a good step forward. I had requested my name be added as a co-sponsor, so I just wanted to make sure that that is added. Thank you.
Yes, I think they have it. That was just a misprint for some reason on the agenda. But thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, and I know there's a couple new aldermen that certainly probably want their name added, and I believe I'm on there, but maybe if nobody would have an issue, why don't we just do this in bank and Austin?
We did it in bank at the last meeting. We can't change it on the third reading calendar. We can't alter it on the third.
Okay, so it didn't pass in bank last time? I'm sorry.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did. So that's why I said the names.
So everybody's on it.
Yeah, everybody's on it.
Except, how did the two new people add their names?
Well, they can't co-sponsor it now because we have it on the third reading calendar. We'd have to move to reconsider and all that other stuff. So, but will have an opportunity to vote in favor.
I saw Dwayne raising her hand. And then the other thing I was going to say is, Dwayne, at the bottom where it says participants, if you click on that, there's a raise hand there, and that will allow the president to see that your hand is raised and you don't have to
that's
jump
good.
up and down. And so, and Alderman, because she wants to prefer Alderman Green, just so you know, you're at the bottom.
Right.
Okay.
Right. All right. Thank you, Alderman. So that was 26. Alderwoman from the 20th.
I just wanted to make sure that my name was added, but I had lowered my hand before. You must have noticed.
Okay. All right.
I appreciate that. I do want to take a moment and say it's unusual that the board is in agreement in its entirety, and to celebrate this moment, I think, is worthy of taking a deep breath. And I appreciate your leadership on this, Mr. President. I know we do not always agree on issues, but certainly this is one that we have all put our names on. And that is an impressive and an important step towards working together in the future.
I agree. Thank you so much, Alderman. Thank you.
Here, here.
Any further discussion? Alderman from the 21st, you're recognized to close. And thanks for everybody for their support on this bill. And all of you have put a lot of work into it. So I want to just thank all of you individually for all the work you put into it to get us to this point. So thank you. Alderman from the 21st, you recognize the close.
Thank you, Mr. President. And I think that it's important to acknowledge your leadership in producing this legislation along with staff, Tom and Mary, who did a fantastic job in researching some of the best practices for us to adopt. This is probably the most substantial bill that we can pass in terms of police reform at this juncture. So thank you, Mr. President. With that, I renew my motion.
Moved by the Alderman from the 21st, seconded by the Alderman from the 23rd, that we third read and final pass Board Bill number 63.
Roll call.
As amended. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
I object.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
Aye.
Alderwoman Grass.
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy.
No offense. Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey. Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderman Vaquero.
Aye.
Alderman Ryan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley. Alderman Rhodey.
Rhodey is aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
Aye.
27 aye votes.
By your vote, you stay in the motion. Alderman from the 21st and third read and finally passed Board Bill 63, Committee Substitute as amended.
Board Bill 48, sponsored by Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, an ordinance approving a blighting study and a redevelopment plan for the 310 DeBolivar Avenue redevelopment area.
Alderman from the 26th, you're recognized on third reading final passage of Board Bill 48.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I move to third read and finally pass again Board Bill 48.
Second.
Moved by the Alderman from 26.
Second.
Seconded by the Alderman from 23rd, and I think it was Alderman on the 22nd. So Alderwoman, please proceed. 14.
The Board Bill 48 is a development project at 310 DeBolivar. It's the Hudson Development. It's a mixed-use project. I continue to support this project as well as other developments in the same area. LCRA still needs to approve it, but the city has approved the TIF project, the TIF development project on it. So with that being said, I just want to know that there are some things going on that I'm aware of. I'm not going to yield to any questions about them today, but if someone would like to make a comment, feel free. Each party that's dealing with this situation can, I guess I could say, the parties are available to work things out the way they can. Me as an alderwoman, I really am feeling a lot of pressure being put in the middle of something that I don't think is my place. And I understand that there are some things going back and forth. Some people are doing positions that maybe are out of their purview. And what I understand of what I'm supposed to be doing as it relates to this project, I'm doing, and I'm standing on that. So again, I really disagree with delaying either of these projects that are going on that corner. And with that being said, I'm not going to yield to any questions, but if someone would like to speak, they can.
Thank you. Alderman from the 17th.
Mr. President, I know I'm probably out of order. I was trying to make sure my vote was cast on the previous roll call. I thought
on the Board Bill 63 committee substitute as amended. Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. I'm sorry to be a little out of order.
Alderman from the 28th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I first want to thank the Alderwoman from the 26th for all of her work on this project and with related projects in the de Bolivar Place and Skinker de Bolivar neighborhoods. This Bill 48 is for a redevelopment project in an area that is busy with other development projects going on, including one at the Metrolink station that this board has already approved. As she alluded to, there are some issues going on between the involved parties, and those are going on to this day. Unfortunately, the LCRA is not designated a developer for this particular project, but the proposed developer has been attempting to supersede the city's process and the neighborhood, the community's process in terms of developments in this area. There have been many neighborhood meetings that have been going on related to both this project and another project across the street. And the proposed developer for Board Bill 48 has even come to, threatening litigation, using a variety of tactics outside of the process that we have all been going through to move these projects forward, to advance them. So I think I would hate to see the city get mired in all of this. I think these issues should really be resolved between those parties before the city would move forward and approve this. I think things are going to get, things could get more complicated if we continue to move this board bill along. So I would really urge the sponsor to move this to the informal calendar until the parties resolve those issues. Otherwise, I will be voting no if we do vote on this today, and I urge my colleagues to vote no in that case. Thank you.
Any further? Alderman from the 22nd.
Mr. President, I have no questions.
All right, Alderwoman from the 20th.
My hand was raised in error, Mr. President, but.
All right. Did you have any questions?
The Alderwoman from the 26th indicated she wouldn't yield for questions, so I suppose I would have no one to ask questions of.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderman from the 24th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the Alderwoman from the 28th please yield?
Alderwoman from the 28th, will you yield the question to the Alderman from the 24th?
Yes, I will, Mr. President.
Alderman from the 24th, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Alderwoman. You just kind of piqued my interest a little bit when you had mentioned that there was some ongoing conflict regarding this development and that there were neighborhood meetings happening surrounding them. Could you shed a little bit more light on that for me?
Sure, and I don't mean to be beating around the bush on this, but yes, I'm happy to share more information. So there are two projects in this area, and the neighborhood meetings I was referring to regard the project that's across the street from this. So this is the TOD, the Transit Oriented Development Project that we've all approved, has gone through rigorous, robust community engagement. And even most recently, we were talking to the neighbors out on the street about impending construction, but that all has been put on hold because this redevelopment project for Board Bill 48 is now kind of in the last moments here showing up, and I mean even and I mean going some of these things like showing up and testifying against the project at a Board of Adjustment hearing. I mean that's something that they are obviously allowed to do. But there's been a variety that project, to my knowledge, and maybe the Alderman from the 26 could shed more light on this, but that project has not gone through the same level of engagement. It's not as large of a project, but it seems the community has really weighed in on one of these projects, not so much on the other. And I don't think it's fair for the city to kind of essentially be held hostage by one developer who's trying to delay or potentially kill another project that this board has approved and that the community has spent a lot of time working with the developers to craft a plan that considered a variety of different factors. I mean, as you can imagine, a project that's partially on bi-state land, partially on private land, multi-use. That project, it's been in a couple of years that we've been working on that one, and the proposed developer, which again is has not been named yet by LCRA and is not named in this bill, is actively working against that, undermining the public engagement process that has been going on for this other project. And so I would like to see the parties get those issues resolved before we continue to push this forward.
And so essentially there's dueling interests over the same parcel of land then, essentially?
No, I'm sorry, these are two different parcels of land, both great projects, both that should move forward. Both the neighborhood wants to see both of these move forward. I think it's mutually beneficial for both developers that these projects move forward. So they are independent projects. However, the developers for Board Bill 48 have tried to create a new legal organization to challenge the project on the other side of the street outside of any city process. So they are two separate pieces of land, and there's no reason why they both can't move forward, but one has essentially been stopped by the other. And I think we just need to take a step back and say, let's get these issues resolved before we finally pass a redevelopment project that may be mired in litigation.
And is there anything that you know about with this particular bill that would be time sensitive? Is there any reason why it needs to move forward today?
I am not aware of that. I mean, there's still more processes that they're going to need to go through. So I mean, and again, it's not my Board Bill 48 is not my board bill, so I don't know the ins and outs of that. So just to my knowledge, I don't see any reason why we cannot give it a little more time until these things get resolved and then come back to it.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman. Mr. President, I have nothing further.
All right, thank you, Alderwoman from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Would the Alderwoman from the 28 yield to a question?
Alderwoman from 28 will yield the questions to Alderwoman from the 5th.
Yes, I will.
Alderwoman from the 5th, please proceed.
Okay, just so I'm clear, because I know you and the Alderwoman from the 26 have worked on projects together in the past. Is this particular development in the 28th or the 26th ward?
This development is in the 26th ward, yes. And I think and as I said, I think she's been doing a wonderful job, and this really has nothing to do with her handling of this project by any means.
Okay, and so with it being in the 26th ward, of course, you all's ward closely border, you feel that it's your right to hold up a development or encourage your colleagues to vote no on something that's not within your ward?
I think if I see someone engaging in practices that are harmful to our city, that I absolutely have the right to share my opinion on that. I think it would be perfectly fine to move this in the informal calendar. you know, I think everyone on this board has the right to speak up and share their opinion and vote the way in which they think they should. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay.
Because this project is very much interconnected with, like I said, these are two projects that are right across the street from one another. They're very much engaged, and both Alderwoman Clark Hubbard and I have been trying to get, you know, the parties to the table to get this worked out. And I think if we just have a little bit more time, we can do that. But there is another project that is at risk because of the behavior of these developers, and so I do feel like I need to stand up and defend the work that the community and this board has already done.
Okay, thank you for your comment regarding that. I'll just say this, and I've been saying it for the longest down here, especially when your ward closely borders another ward. I'm big on courtesy, you know, and we all were elected by our constituents to make decisions on behalf of our constituents. So I guess I'm always taken back by when people, you know, want to get into the business of other people as if they know what's best for them in their community. And I think that's a problem down here. I think that's something that we really need to stop doing, because we all were elected, and you know, it's like you don't really realize it until someone does it to you, because you know, we all were elected. So I just would encourage us as a body. I mean, you have a right to vote however you want to vote on something, but just have some respect for the person carrying the bill. Have some respect for the person whose ward the development is in. And that's all I have, Mr. President. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, I agree with Alderwoman Hubbard. I guess my issue is, and I don't know who sponsored the other development, but why would you side with one, and I don't know who did it, but why side with one developer over another if Alderwoman Clark Hubbard feels that this is something that should go forward? Let's let it go forward. And if the two contractors want to fight, then, you know, then that's up to them. But, you know, I think that this is in her ward, and it's just my opinion that I assume the one developer has all the tax abatement and all this good stuff. And apparently we've already passed that through. And now we're going to say, well, if we put this aside, it seems like we're kind of siding with the other one, because you're saying they'll litigate if we don't. So at what point would they not litigate? I trust Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, and I would think she's going to do what's in the best interest, the same as we all do, for the people in our neighborhood. And if she felt this was an issue, she would probably put it on the informal calendar. But I can tell you that I absolutely am supporting this. I think she knows what her ward needs, and I think, you know, again, it's just an opinion, and certainly anybody could tell me if I'm wrong, but it seems like if we put this bill on hold or send it back, we're kind of telling the other contractor, you win, and as the board, we're shutting the other guys down, and I don't think that's fair or right. And if they want to litigate it, let them spend some money and go to court. That's all I have to say, but I'm absolutely in support of this.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. Will the Alderwoman from the 28th yield to questioning?
Alderwoman from the 28th will yield the question to the Alderman from the 21st.
Yes, I will.
Alderman from the 21st, please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Alderwoman, you said that this project in the 26th ward will put another development project at risk, right?
Yeah, I said yes. I mean, the way that these developers are moving forward is in such a way to risk the other project. And I think both of them should be moving forward. I think we should be acting in a way to promote both of these projects. And if one project is going to actively work to kill the other one, I think we as a governmental body need to step in and say, whoa, we're not going to let that happen. The city wants to see both of these move forward. So that, yes.
So the development project that you allege is at risk. Whose ward is that project in?
That one's in the 28th. For the most, there's a small
Oh,
piece of it. There's
that's
no,
fine. No, Alderwoman,
well,
that's fine. I just
it's
want
in
to know
2
that
wards.
question.
Do you want to know what
I
the
just
other?
wanted to know that question. You answered it. You said that development in the 26th ward is going to affect development in the 28th ward. So you want the Alderwoman from the 26th to yield her business for your benefit of your ward. That's what I'm getting. Mr. President, I make the motion to call the question.
All right, it's been
I will second that.
Object.
been moved by the Alderman from 21st and seconded by the Alderman from the 23rd that we call the question. A vote of aye will take us directly to the vote on Board Bill 48, the third reading and final passage of Board Bill 48. A vote of no on the call to question will continue debate. Again, a vote of aye takes us directly to the third reading and final passage, and a vote of no will continue debate on Board Bill 48. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
I don't think she voted on anything else.
Alderwoman Hubbard. Alderwoman Engrossed.
No.
Alderman Coder. Alderwoman Rice.
No.
Alderman Gunther.
No.
Alderman Balmer. Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Grass.
I think she's still muted.
We'll come back to her.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
No.
Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey.
I'm in favor of the bill, but against ending the debate. So no.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Wait a minute. Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer.
No.
Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
No.
Alderman Cone. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
No.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
No.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin.
No.
Alderwoman Grass,
Aye.
Alderman Boyd,
No.
Alderman Cone.
No.
15 aye votes and 12 no votes.
I vote, you sustain the motion of Alderman from the 21st. Now, what's before us is the third reading and final passes of Board Bill number 48. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Evans, Alderwoman Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia,
Aye.
Alderman Coder,
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice,
Abstain.
Alderman Gunther,
Aye.
Alderman Vollmer,
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin, Alderwoman Grass,
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy,
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Green,
Present.
Alderman Oldenburg,
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey, Alderman Rhodey,
Aye. Rhodey's aye.
Alderman Todd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis,
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
Abstain.
Alderman Muhammad,
Aye.
Alderman Boyd, Alderman Boyd,
Present.
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye.
Alderman Narayan,
Present.
Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro,
No.
President Reed,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderman Bosley, Alderwoman Martin, (20 aye votes), 1 no vote, 2 abstain, and 3 present.
I vote, you sustain the motion of the Alderwoman from the 26th and third read and finally passed Board Bill number 48.
That is the extent of third reading report of engrossment.
Report of enrollment.
Board Bill 29, 51, 23, 53 as amended, 55, 57 as amended, 65, 66 as amended, 14, 17, 18, 19, 30, 31, 33, 34, 35, 40, 48, 49 as amended, 52, 54, 56, 59, 63 committee sub as amended.
All other business being suspended with no further objection. The president shall in open session affix his signature hereto to the end that these may become law. Oh, boy. There's a big stack of bills, so it's gonna take a minute. All right, Alderman from the 21st. Alderman from the 21st.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to introduce resolution number 28.
Is it under the courtesy resolutions calendar?
Every alderman should have received the email directly from the assistant clerk, Mr. Rita Rogers.
All right, and it's on the regular resolutions calendar.
No,
Okay.
Go ahead, sir.
All right, do you want it introduced under the courtesy resolutions calendar or the regular resolutions calendar?
Regular resolution, sir.
Okay, we would dispense with line item 20. So you're making a motion to introduce resolution number what?
28.
It's been moved by the alderman from the 21st that we suspend the rules for purposes of introducing resolution number 28. I entertain a second on that.
Second.
It's been moved by the alderman from 21st, seconded by the alderman from the 23rd. Alderwoman from the 20th, please state your objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. My objection is simply that I attempted a very similar maneuver just a couple weeks ago, and it was denied. Even the consideration, Mr. President, was denied by you.
No, it was what you did was totally and completely different.
It was a resolution that was emailed to the full board.
Alderwoman, with all due respect, please, if you're going to engage in this, do it with some truth related to it, because
Mr. President, if you don't mind pointing out any difference between what is going on now and what I attempted to do.
Alderwoman from the 20th, you emailed the Board of Aldermen after the meeting had started, and 5 minutes later, after emailing all of us, you said you were going to suspend the rules on something that none of us knew about. So
after the meeting started,
what's going on here is something wholly and completely different. So, and if you have any other things that you want to introduce from the floor, just make sure we know ahead of time so that we can accommodate it. But telling us 5 minutes into an online meeting, 5 minutes before you're going to do it in an online meeting, introducing from the floor was just not.
Mr. President, with all due respect, that is not what transpired. And we have the capacity within our rules to introduce resolutions and other things on the floor. And so my injection is simply to bring light to the fact that we have attempted to do this before. I have attempted to do this before and was not allowed to proceed. Mr. President, with that, I will.
Alderwoman, again, I will print the documents out and hand them to you, but I'm sure.
I look forward to it, Mr. President.
Alderwoman, I'm sure majority of your colleagues can show you the same. And, but again, nobody's out to get you. You just follow a process, especially when we're doing these online meetings, and we will do everything in our powers to accommodate you. Alderman from the 23rd, you're recognized.
I just wanted to state that I agree with you. On Alderman Muhammad's, I received that well before, like past 24 hours in advance of this meeting. I had plenty enough time to read it, where Alderwoman Spencer gave it to me during the meeting when I'm trying to concentrate on the meeting with no real ability, unless I didn't take that Evelyn Wood speed reading course. Plus, it was unfair. I was able to at least look at Alderman Muhammad's bill. I really get tired of everybody trying to say you, me, or whoever are doing this, and that we're it's some sort of a thing against her or somebody else. I've done stuff, and I've gotten mad, and you tell me I'm out of time or it's not the right place. And I'm never happy about it. But this is not that I can see something to attack any one person, even though they're trying to make it look like it. I received Alderman Muhammad's bill well in advance of the meeting, and I would be more than happy to share with you the timing on the one that Alderman Spencer sent during the meeting, and again, with no time. But if we're going to change the rules, I would ask Alderman Spencer to support anything I'm going to start sending in just toward the middle or end of the meeting. Maybe some big long things, and maybe we can change our rules and we could just all start submitting stuff within minutes. Anyway, I agree with you. This is not an attack on anybody, but you just can't send us something with no real time to read it, and you wouldn't want us to do that to you. And if you send stuff well in advance of a meeting, absolutely, I'd be happy to read it. And a lot of times, maybe even happy to co-sponsor it. So anyway, thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? It's been moved by the Alderman from the 21st, seconded by the Alderman from the 23rd, that we suspend our rules for purposes of introducing resolution number 28. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook.
Aye.
Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans.
Aye.
Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Ingracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Grass.
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
Aye.
Alderman Odenberg.
Aye.
Rhodey.
Rhodey's aye.
Alderman Todd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Muhammad.
Aye.
Alderman Boyd. Alderman Vaccaro.
Aye.
Alderman Narayan.
Aye.
Alderman Cone.
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd.
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro.
Aye.
President Reed.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Spencer. Alderman Boyd.
Aye.
25 aye votes.
By vote, stay in the motion, Alderman from the 21st. Madam Clerk, please place resolution number 28 at the end of the resolutions calendar. Alderman from the 16th. Alderman from the 16th.
Sorry. I was going to introduce a resolution as well, Mr. President, so I don't know if we need to have a final.
Has it been sent out to everybody and everybody has it in their mailboxes?
Yes, sir. It was sent out around 10:45 or 11 a.m. this morning.
Okay, all right. Please proceed, Alderman.
Perfect. I'd like to move that we suspend the rules with the intention of introducing resolution 27 and sending it to the Ways and Means Committee.
Second.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 16th, seconded by the Alderman from the 21st, that we suspend the rules for introducing resolution number 27. And then once we have it before us, then you can make the motion to send it to committee.
Agreed. I just wanted to state the intention that I plan to.
Okay, moved by Alderman from the 16th, seconded by Alderman from the 21st. Alderman from the 23rd.
Yes, and this is one again, I haven't had even a chance to look at it. Will there be some sort of explanation?
Yes, he's going to send it to committee. He said that he's going to.
Just to send it to me, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, thank you. And Alderman from the 15th.
Could I inquire of the Alderman from the 16th?
As to if you want to talk about the nature of the bill, of the resolution, then that wouldn't be in order right now. What's in order is just the suspension of the rules to get it before us. It's not before us right now.
That's what my question is about.
Okay, Alderman from the 16th will yield the question about the suspension of the rules for the Alderman from the 15th.
Sure, of course.
Thank you. I just was wondering if there's a reason for suspension of rules today to introduce this rather than waiting to our meeting on Friday.
Absolutely, Alderwoman. I missed the deadline. It's completely on me. The Wednesday full board meeting threw me off, and I missed the deadline to submit this through the proper ways of getting a resolution on the agenda and the calendar. And I would like it to be fully vetted in a committee so that all questions and comments can be discussed and then further discussed on a full board meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alderman.
Alderman from the 17th.
This may be a bit out of order. I was just, I presume this is a procedural thing with regard to the initiative petition. And I guess I was asking if we could get some sort of clarification on some of the.
Thank you. I think like, yeah, I think that gets into the discussion of the resolution itself. And once it's before us, I think we'll have opportunity to.
Mr. President, I'm not trying to be coy here. There's been a lot of discussion about adhering to our rules. And when you're introducing a resolution, there's three things.
Alderman from the 16th, hold on a second, because Alderman from the 17th had the floor. I'll come back to you.
No, well, I guess I was a little out of order. It's just that the Alderwoman from the 20th raised an issue via email. And it's my understanding at some point, if the board doesn't do something, something happens. And I guess for the benefit of all of us, I was just asking that at some point we try to get clarification on the process.
And that's what you'll do once the item is before us. Right now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Alderwoman from the 20th. Alderwoman from the 20th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I keep hitting on mute and it keeps reverting right back. So my apologies for the delay there. I think when we're talking about and considering suspending the rules, I do think that the content of the resolution that we're considering to suspend the rules for is an important consideration, and whether or not we should suspend our rules, especially given the timeline, is an important factor here. The timeline is an important factor for several reasons. We are talking about the petition that is been certified by the Board of Elections as of July 2nd. If we consider this bill, this resolution essentially negates the Board of Aldermen's 60 days to fully consider the petition process by the board by this body. And
Alderwoman,
Mr. President,
Alderwoman,
my point is that
Alderwoman, Alderwoman, hold on for a second, Alderwoman. When the resolution is in front of us, the Board of Aldermen will have an opportunity to decide whether it takes up that resolution, supports that resolution or not, right? What the Alderman from the 16th has asked is for suspension of the rules just to introduce it, right? That's all we're talking about. So if you want to talk about the powers and exchange and all of those things are for a much later discussion. That is not what we're going to discuss here at this point. So do you have something specific to just the suspension of the rules for that we're discussing right now?
I do,
The
Mr.
motion that's in
President.
front of us.
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
Mr. President, I'd like to inquire of the alderman from the 16th of the intent of this resolution, so that when we're voting on whether or not we are suspending the rules, we have an understanding of the intent of the resolution.
Alderman, Mr. President, I'll respond. And colleagues, again, I'm not trying to be coy or hide anything. I'm simply trying to adhere.
You lost. There you go.
Simply just trying to adhere to our rules. When properly introducing resolutions, there are only a handful of things that can happen. You just can't start speaking and discussing. It's either you ask for unanimous consent, you suspend the rules to introduce. Once you introduce, you have the ability to discuss, read it, or refer it to committee. That's simply what I'm adhering to. Alderwoman, I'm happy to engage in the committee meetings on my intentions, on this resolution's intentions, on any intention when it's appropriate. But we can't say we want to adhere to our rules and rules are broken. Here I am trying to follow them precisely to the T, and I'm getting questions that somehow my intent is nefarious or misleading, and I just don't want that to be the case.
Thank you. Alderman from the 20th. Alderman from the 20th.
I certainly didn't imply that that there was anything nefarious going on here. I simply asked for the intent of the resolution to inform us on how to vote on whether or not we should suspend the rules for it. If you choose not to simply inform us of the intent of the resolution, that's your choice, Alderman, but my request for the intent of the resolution, I think, is fair and justified and within the rules.
Certainly, Alderman. Can you recall that if you've ever asked of anyone else's intention when we suspend the rules? Suspending the rules is a request out of courtesy, to which I'm doing. And I can't recall at all when anyone has ever asked the intent behind getting that courtesy extended to them.
With all due respect, Alderman, you didn't answer my question, which is fine and fair. I simply had a request so I could be informed, because the intent of this resolution is not eminently clear.
I'm simply seeking courtesy to suspend the rules, Alderwoman, and I'm happy to discuss the intent upon its referral to committee.
Sure. You don't want to discuss that here. That's your prerogative. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Further discussion, any further discussion? It's been Alderman from the 8th.
I'm sorry, I'm just
And Alderman from the 8th, the Alderman.
This is about the
Thank you.
So I'm just, by our rules, resolutions have to be submitted to the clerk by 11 a.m. on Wednesday for a Friday first read. And I believe that this was submitted for a Friday, in time for a Friday first read. So if there's controversy about introducing it from the floor, it will be first read on Friday. And at the moment, we do not have a Ways and Means meeting scheduled before Friday. So if it's amenable to the Alderman from the 16th, this is in time to get on the Friday first read.
Any further discussion? Any further discussion? All right, it's been moved by the Alderman from the 16th, seconded by the Alderman from 21st, that we suspend our rules for the purposes of introducing resolution number 27. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderwoman Tyus. Alderwoman Middlebrook. Alderman Bosley. Alderwoman Evans. Alderwoman Hubbard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Negracia.
Aye.
Alderman Coder.
Aye.
Alderwoman Rice.
Aye.
Alderman Gunther.
Aye.
Alderman Balmer.
Aye.
Alderwoman Martin. Alderwoman Grass.
Aye.
Alderwoman Murphy.
Aye.
Alderwoman Howard.
Aye.
Alderwoman Green.
No.
Alderman Oldenburg.
Aye.
Alderman Rhodey.
Aye.
Alderman Todd.
Present.
Alderwoman Davis.
Aye.
Alderwoman Spencer,
No.
Alderman Muhammad,
Aye.
Alderman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderman Vaccaro,
Aye. Aye.
Alderman Ryan,
Aye.
Alderman Cone,
Aye.
Alderwoman Clark Hubbard,
Aye.
Alderwoman Boyd,
Aye.
Alderwoman Navarro,
Aye.
President Reed,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tyus, Alderwoman Middlebrook,
Aye.
Alderman
Aye.
Mobley, Alderwoman Evans, Alderwoman Martin, (22) aye votes,
Change Alderman Cone to a no.
21 aye votes, 3 no votes, and 1 present.
By a vote, stay in the motion. Alderman from the 16th and introduce resolution number 27.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board,
Alderman from the 16th, hold for a second. Now we're going to the first reading of resolutions. First reading of resolutions. Take the resolution with the lowest number first. That'd be resolution 27, then 28.
Resolution 27, sponsored by Alderman Oldenburg, Citizens Initiative Petition for Airport Privatization.
Alderman from the 16th, you recognize on the first reading of resolution number 27.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, I appreciate the courtesy in suspending the rules for my tardiness in getting this on the agenda. I would like to make a motion that we refer resolution 27 to the Ways and Means Committee, please.
Second.
Been moved by the Alderman from the 16th, seconded by the Alderman from the 14th, that we refer resolution 27 to Ways and Means. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 When did these charges occur? When did the unauthorized
aye.
charges
They
occur?
started occurring in
We're all muted.
Please assign resolution number 27 to Ways and Means.
So noted. Resolution 28, sponsored by Alderman Muhammad, and Alderman Boyd, Alderman Cone, Alderman Ryan, Alderwoman Navarro, Alderwoman Davis, Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, Alderman Oldenburg, Alderwoman Middlebrook, Alderman Gunther, and Alderwoman Engrossment,
I believe I'm on there too.
and Alderman Vaccaro.
Move to bank.
Yeah, second.
Oh, we got to get it in front of us. Well, let's get it. Let us get it in front of us. All right, finish up, Madam Clerk.
Rededicating the Samuel L. Kennedy Committee Hearing Room as the Samuel and Terry Kennedy Committee Hearing Room.
All right, Alderman from the 21st, you recognize on resolution number 26.
Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. Resolution number 28, as the assistant clerk just said, changes the name of the Samuel Kennedy Committee Hearing Room to the Samuel and Terry Kennedy Committee Hearing Room. As we all know, our beloved clerk, before he became clerk, the first African-American clerk of the Board of Aldermen, he was the Alderman of the 18th Ward for nearly 30 years until his retirement in 2019. And of course, his father, the longtime Alderman of the 18th Ward as well for nearly 28 years, who is the namesake of the Kennedy Hearing Room. I think that it's only befitting and appropriate that we adjust that name to include both Mr. Samuel Kennedy and Mr. Terry Kennedy, our current chief clerk.
All right, thank you. Are you requesting unanimous consent?
I am requesting unanimous consent, Mr. President.
Hearing no objection, would you like to make a motion to get it fully in front of us?
Yes, Mr. President, I make a motion to place in front of us and pass resolution number 28.
It's been moved by Alderman from the 21st. Entertain a second on that motion. Second by the Alderman from the 9th and Alderman from the 14th. Now, any further discussion? Alderman from the 23rd.
First, I would like to make it in bank, if that's fine with everyone.
Second.
It's been moved by the Alderman from the 23rd and seconded by nearly everyone.
So my other question.
Hold on for a second. Let me do the in-bank motion. Is there any objection to in-bank? Any objection to in-bank? It's been moved and seconded. Before we move forward, Alderman from the 24th, Alderman from the 24th, I see your hand is up. Is it up for an objection to the in-bank? Oh, wait a minute.
No, it's up for discussion.
Okay, all right, thank you. It's been moved by the Alderman from the 23rd, seconded by the Alderman from the 26th, and the 9th, and 14th, and the host of 13th, that we make this resolution in bank. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
Yeah.
Motion carries. So, Madam Clerk, please make a note of that to create another copy of Resolution 28 in bank. So now to discussion. Alderman from the 23rd, anything further?
Yes, well, does this mean we got to hang a picture of him in that room? I'm a little concerned. Just kidding.
All right. Alderman from the 24th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to take a second. As soon as I saw this come across my desk, I thought that this was something that we had to do. I know that I've only been down at City Hall for a relatively short amount of time compared to some of my colleagues, but I found Clerk Kennedy to just be a wealth of knowledge, both on the history of the city of St. Louis, as well as our rules and procedures, and just a total class act of a human being. And I think this is great because it's going to keep Clerk Kennedy's place in City Hall, hopefully as long as the building is standing. And I'd just like to thank him both for taking the time to show a green legislator what the heck this was all about, and for his years of service, and for genuinely just being a class act. Thank you. I have nothing further.
All right, thank you, Alderman. Alderman from the 22nd.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board. I don't think that the clerk of the Board of Aldermen, the former Terry Kennedy, does well with accepting compliments like this. It's just not his style. And he is somebody that is the most humble person. He's always willing to share his knowledge and his wisdom, his life experiences with others. He is somebody that has certainly mentored me as an alderman. I've admired him for many years before I became an alderman. I remember the first time I met him at some kind of rally over at Delmore and Union some kind of way. And I spoke to him and I thought he was a celebrity to me. And I thought, oh my God, I'm meeting this alderman. And I saw this guy and he's so great and he's done so many great things. And just having the opportunity to serve with him, is just such an honor. He has taught me a lot as the chairman of the African American Automatic Caucus, following his footsteps. It's a huge footprint. And I just feel like I have a baby footprint to step into what he has done, you know, for the African American community and for the city of St. Louis at large. And I am just so excited. I just thank our alderman from the 21st Ward for having the leadership to honor him in such a way. He doesn't speak a lot. Everybody that was ever served with him, they know he doesn't speak much. But when he does, the world listens, because we're on the internet. We're global now. So when he does, and when he did, I should say, the world listened. And so, I mean, I just want to cry for him, because this is such an honor. And he is such a great man with such impeccable integrity that I love dearly and will continue to lean upon for support in my endeavors as I move forward in city government in a capacity for whatever God has for me. And I certainly salute, you know, our clerk, former Alderman Terry Kennedy, the clerk, Mr. Kennedy. And brother, you the real deal is all I can say. Thank you.
Right, Alderman from the 19th.
I think I got, okay. Thank you, Mr. President and members of the board. So I'm already crying, so because I have to thank him. I called my son and told him about this. And Vincent said to say to you, thank you for every moment that you took your personal time in our community with young people and taught them about their history, taught them how to be respectful and purposeful. You see, that's hard to do. And if we look at our news every day, we know we have missed some steps here lately, because we've got to get back to that. When you have served in as many capacities as you have, it is quite an honor to know you. Not only were you an alderman, a lot of people don't know, you were the leader of a tribe, which is your family. And even though you have older brothers and sisters, they still relied on you and your knowledge to carry them through. And what I loved about it was how you made sure everybody was basic, but well prepared and knowing and understanding their plight. There is nothing that anybody could ever say to me against you or about you unless it's positive, because that's all you have ever given us in this community. And when you look at the region as well, because I went to the last presentation you had on the bridge, the joint presentation with East St. Louis, and the respect that came from that community for you and your family is just phenomenal. So I say to you, thank you. We need more men like you.
Amen.
We need more men like you, because look at what we're doing. We're losing a whole generation. You know, my kids didn't know nobody got killed and was going to funerals every week like some of these children are, or twice a week. They didn't know that. I didn't know anybody that got killed. It's just so much that needs to be done. But the Lord knows, and we know that you did your part. And I just say thank you, my friend. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 17th.
Mr. President, members of the board, I just, as the member who served longest with the former alderman from the 18th, I just wanted to wish my good, share my good wishes as well. I had a very brief opportunity to serve with his father. His father and my dad were I think, good friends. My dad spoke highly of Sam Kennedy frequently and with great warmth. And I was really looking forward to serving with him. he had been the longtime HUD's chairman down here and fell ill just shortly after I was elected. And regrettably, I did not have the chance to get to know him as well as I would have liked to. Terry joined the board shortly after that, and I think did a really remarkable job for these many years, honoring his dad's legacy and creating his own. So congratulations, Mr. Clerk.
Thank you. Alderman from the 5th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just want to echo some of the same comments my colleagues have, but it's so bittersweet. It seems like you're going somewhere, Terry. I pray that you are not, but it's definitely a blessing to have had you just in our presence, and you know, a person could always count on you to keep your word. And more important than that, I'm just grateful to see your family's legacy be honored in such a way, because when I first ran for office, you know, it was almost like I don't know, that it felt that people wanted me to be shameful because I was like second generation and many members of my family were elected, and they, I guess, didn't understand the importance of service. And when you come from a family of service, then the likelihood of somebody else serving is you know, very high. So I didn't know your father, but I heard so much about him. But can you imagine how he's smiling in heaven right now to have your name honored next to his? You know, that's just a beautiful thing. And I am so happy for you. I can't think of anyone else who's more deserving. But I will say this: if it takes a tenure of 30 years or a total of 60 years, I'll never get my name on a room in City Hall because I'm not built that way. But congratulations, you definitely deserve it, and you should feel proud, very proud. And that's all I have, Mr. President.
Excellent. Alderwoman from the 6th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I appreciate the Alderman from the 21st introducing this resolution and the fact that it's in bank. I've learned so much from the clerk during my 7 years at the Board of Aldermen. I think I've told this story before, but we all know how dedicated he is. And I think I was incredibly impressed and felt terribly for him when we were arguing minimum wage, and he was so sick that he was sitting in the back with a trash can and then would come out to the floor every time we needed him to vote on something, which makes me giggle, but is ridiculously impressive. And just, I'm really grateful that subsequent to you leaving your position as Alderman, that you are still working with us at the board. So I'm very excited to be a co-sponsor on this well-deserving tribute.
Thank you, Alderwoman. Alderwoman from the 4th. Alderwoman from the 4th.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. The short time that I've known Terry Kennedy, I saw how remarkable he was when I attended one of Shameen's meeting where he was the spokesman there. That man is a plethora of knowledge of Black history. I was mesmerized by listening to him speak. And I'm quite sure the honoring that you have for him today, I just want to stand by that as well. And all I have to say is just the short time that I've known him, I know that he is just full of knowledge and history, and just love to listen to him speak. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you. Alderwoman from the 26th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I, again, can repeat mostly everything that everyone else has already said. And one of the things I admire most about Mr. Clerk Terry Kennedy is what the Alderman from the 22nd said, which is where he didn't speak much, but when he does, it speaks volumes. I admire that about him so much. I often channel it when I'm trying to do things down here. And I'm just so grateful, forever grateful for him always answering my calls, always answering my emails, and always giving me not just the truth, accurate answers, but also fair answers. And that makes a big difference when you're down here trying to legislate in a body, in any body of that, for that matter. So thank you so much, Mr. Clerk. I cannot wait to be at the celebration. Hopefully we can have some kind of real celebration for you. But until then, we will definitely be here continuing to champion for you like you champion for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. Some 17 years ago, when I got down here, the Alderman from the 18th, then the clerk now, was my office mate. As you know, he and I have maybe some different habits off duty. So, but the best thing you can say about him is if those of our age might remember an old commercial for a firm called E.F. Hutton. And to me, Terry Kennedy was E.F. Hutton, because when E.F. Hutton spoke, the room went silent and everyone listened. Congratulations, Mr. Clerk. And knowing him, he probably has his speaker down and not listening to any of this because he doesn't want to hear any of this. I know him. But thank you for everything.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Any further discussion? If I'm missing you, if you wave your hand in front of your screen, I will make sure to call on you. I just want to add my thanks, but thanks doesn't seem to be enough. You know, to me, our clerk is a historian. He's a teacher, he's a unifier, and he's an elder. He's a mentor. He's Kujaliwa, which is his other name that some of you may not know him by, but it's Kujaliwa. As a father of four, you know, I think about it and I can't help but to think how proud your father must be of you now. And I hope the clerk doesn't get angry with me, but I'm going to put some information out there. When, after the 30 years of service at the Board of Aldermen, he decided he was going to move on and go do some other things. But he was also worried about the state of the board, all the things that we were working to get together, all of the things we have been pushing through Personnel Committee and everything else. And he had great offers every place else, which far eclipsed anything he can get from the board. But he came back and said, you know what, even though I have these other offers, I have other opportunities that would be much more lucrative to me. I still want to do public service, and the job I want to do, I want to be the clerk for the Board of Aldermen. It floored me. I was like, I thought it was awesome that he really wanted to continue his work in public service, but in a different capacity. And I speak something for you. I mean, so your father absolutely has to be, I mean, so proud of you. And like one of the aldermen said, he has to be looking down from heaven right now and saying, very good, my son, you've done well, because you have done just tremendous. I count myself as a person that you have mentored along the way across this 20 years. Some things I've picked up, but you know, not all of us can do what you do, right? Right. It takes you have some other qualities that you bring to bear, and we all benefit from it. So I am just so honored to have known you all the years I've known you. When I originally came to the board a little over 20 years ago, you know, people said, well, when you go down there, if you see Terry go one way, you better follow. They said, because he is a reasonable legislator and he is a uniter. He works across lines, because the board back then, you think we see division now, you have no idea what it was like back then, right? But Terry and some other aldermen managed to bring people together around those very thorny issues. And you have a legacy of bills that you've passed that have transformed our city. Sometimes when you're sitting at the finish line or close to the finish line, you have no idea about the track that it took to get this far, right? And you have carried the city and a lot of us on your back through a lot of very difficult times, and I certainly appreciate it. And I know you and Alderman Rhodey, when you came together, when Mike Brown was shot and killed in the city, and you guys you showed up and said, hey, we need to do something to keep this board unified through this time. And that meant the world to me. And to your colleagues, that showed some leadership. So again, Terry, Mr. Clerk Kennedy, congratulations. It's an honor that overwhelmingly none of us will ever see. But it is so deserving. And congratulations. Congratulations, my elder and my leader. Appreciate you so much, man. Alderman from the 21st, you recognize the close.
Mr. President, with everything being said, I move that we pass resolution number 28 for the distinguished statesman of the 18th Ward and the best alderman the 18th Ward has ever seen, and one of the finest aldermen in our city will ever know, the Honorable Terry M. Kennedy.
The score, hashtag Kujaliwa.
Kujaliwa. Wally Mo.
It's been
Second.
moved on from the 21st, second by all one from the 14th and the 19th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. Congratulations, Mr. Clerk.
That is the extent of first reading resolutions.
Second reading,
We have none.
miscellaneous and unfinished business.
We have none.
Announcements.
Thursday, July 9th, Public Safety will have a meeting at 10 a.m. via webinar. Health and Human Services will have a meeting at 1 p.m. via webinar. Friday, July 10th, 2024, board meeting 10 a.m. via webinar. That's the announcements.
Alderman from the 10th.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members of the board, I'd like to announce a Ways and Means hearing Friday, 9 a.m. via webinar.
All right, Madam Clerk, please make note of that. Alderman from the 23rd.
I know, must get there. No, I did, since it's announcements and it's proper, I want to thank everybody for helping me work through that residency bill and especially the caucus members that felt very strongly against it, that worked with me. And just to let you know, I will be working just as hard on the ward reduction. But anyway, I do want to thank everybody. And I know there was a lot of back and forth, but I do think that the voters deserve the right to look at this again. And even if it's the second or third time. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for their help today and voting. And last but not least, to the two new members, welcome.
Welcome.
This was baptism by fire, but
it gets better. It gets better.
Some of the meetings only go 20 or 30 minutes too. So this is to make up for lost time. And what's funny is the people that you fight with today will be the people that you're supporting tomorrow, because the groups change. They're in constant flux. I hate you today, I love you tomorrow. You know, so it's not always this. And believe it or not, even the people that seems like we fight with, I really don't believe we're all enemies. In fact, again, we support each other on a lot of stuff. But anyway, God bless you guys. Thank you. And I look forward to working with you.
Thank you, Alderman. Alderman from the 22nd.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I would like to also echo some of the comments that the Alderman from the 23rd made. I want to welcome the Alderwoman from the 4th and the 12th and say to them, it's not always like this. Every now and then it is. Please, whatever you do in politics at the Board of Aldermen, do not take it personal.
That's right.
Because we will be with you today and may be against you tomorrow. And it's okay. Because at the end of the day, you were elected to represent your constituents, not ours, but yours. So you must vote in the best interest of your constituents, not ours. And we would hope that we have a common ground, that we all vote in the majority in the best interest of the city of St. Louis. So I want to say that, and again, welcome you. I'm so glad you guys finally got sworn in. We've been waiting for it for a long time. And it's just a beautiful thing today. And what better way to get baptized than by fire at the Board of Aldermen? That's all I can say, because this was by fires. The other thing, Mr. President and members of the board, I would like to ask to call a streets traffic and refuse meeting for Monday at 9 a.m.
Madam Clerk, please make note of
And
that.
I will hear whatever bills are in committee.
Streets meeting Monday, 9 a.m. And
Thank
if the clerk has a scheduling issue or whatever, they'll be back with you and talk with you. Mr.
I'm more than willing to work it out.
All right.
Thank you.
Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Any further announcements?
I do.
One for the 19th.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. I just wanted to welcome our two new alderwomen to our board. And actually, today wasn't that bad. We have been worse. So just know that it's all about debating. And as the alderman said from the 22nd Ward, please don't take it personal. Leave it at the board, leave it in the session, and go out and be happy. Be good to your constituents and make sure that you be good to yourself. The alderwoman from the 12th, when I was doing my weekly drive, I drove through the 12th Ward so I could learn and have more knowledge. I knew some, but I didn't know all. So I learned a lot. I took Broadway, and then I took Telegraph another way. And I learned a lot. There's a street named Davis, and it's just a little bit east of that small park the guys like to hang out in. But I just welcome both of you, and I think that based on your ability to be a part of your community in a very significant way in the past, it'll make it easy for you to just blend right in. So again, welcome. Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. Alderman from the 25th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too just want to extend a hand in welcoming the two new alderwomen. I'm not sure if we did so earlier in the meeting, but it is a momentous occasion as well, because the two of them being sworn in, the body of this board is now a majority female board. So I think that that's a very exciting moment for our city as a whole. So I personally want to acknowledge that, because I think it's a really awesome occasion for our city. And just to echo the sentiments from my colleagues, you'll often find yourselves on varying sides of issues, where sometimes you've got alliances or friendships on one side, and then you're on the other the next week. And I have to say, I think in the years that I've been down here, we've had a few hard fought battles and countless hours. It feels like in some meetings. I think my longest so far has been around 8 hours long. It doesn't happen that frequently, but it does happen on occasion. But congratulations to you both, and enjoy this moment. It's the most popular that you're ever going to be amongst your neighbors, your constituents, and even down here at the board. But I really truly look forward to working with both of you in the future, and look forward to getting to know you both as alder people and as individuals as well.
Alderman from the 24th.
Thank you, Mr. President. I also just wanted to kind of echo some of the sentiments to Alderwoman Grass and Alderwoman Evans. congratulations, welcome. I'm looking forward to working with you both over the years to come. I agree with Alderman Cohn. This is as good as it gets day one. from here moving forwards, it's phone calls and headaches. But as Alderman Boyd pointed out, I think it's important to remember that none of this is personal. You just got to roll with the punches. You'll be. It's all circular. You'll be with someone one day, against them the next day, with them a week later. And as Alderman Cohn pointed out, also I think it's pretty amazing, just in a relatively short period of time that we went from historically having always been a majority male board to then we had equality, and now the majority of us are alderwomen. A friend of mine said aldermen, more like the board of alderwomen. And so congratulations to all of the women on this board. I think that that's something that should definitely be pointed out. It's a historical thing. And welcome, and I look forward to working with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any further announcements? Any further announcements? Any further announcements? All right. Alderman from the 22nd, you're recognized on the motion to excuse. Alderman from the 22nd, you're recognized on the motion to excuse.
Yes, Mr. President, members of the board, I move to maybe excuse the Alderman from the first. I'm not sure if she would appreciate that because she likes to vote no, but I will go ahead and indulge that we excuse the Alderman from the first due to necessary absences.
Second. Alderman from 22nd, seconded by Alderman from 10th. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion.
No. Uh-oh.
Alderman from, we're going to ignore that one. Alderman from the 22nd, you're recognized on the motion to adjourn.
Mr. President, members of the board, I move to adjourn until Friday, July the 10th, 10 a.m.
Second.
I move by Alderman from 22nd, seconded by Alderman from the 10th. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. We stand adjourned. Thanks all. Have a great couple days. See you Friday.
All right, bye-bye.